Welcome to the meeting of January 20th. Selectmen, we start at 6:25 with the police chief with quick non-public. Brings us to 6:40. Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Public comment. Public comment? Okay. Department heads. Chief Moore. Chief Azina. Anyone
Might as
else?
well do the rest of your agenda then.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, bring us to the 7 o'clock hour. Okay. Benji didn't have anything, did he?
Oh,
No?
not that I'm aware of.
Okay. All right. I guess let's get the minutes up. Of 113. Anything on page 1? Page 1, page 2. And on page 2? Page 3.
Just adding to funds and
Capital reserve funds.
funds, yeah. It was a listing of all the funds.
Okay. Anything page 4?
Under correspondence and other business, line 2,
Yep.
where it starts with is going to forward the answer to town administrator. So add going to.
What?
It just says is forward
Is to forwarded.
or is going to forward.
Yeah, is going to forward. It's where it starts Morgan. The line starts Morgan.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I see, yeah.
Anything else on page 4? Entertain a motion.
Make a motion, we accept the minutes as corrected for January 13th.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any abstain? Okay, manifest. Order the treasurer to sign payroll accounts payables checks dated January, I'm thinking 23rd?
Yeah, Thursday.
Thursday.
Okay. Well, I have January 123rd, 2020, so.
Oh.
Yeah. January 23rd, 2020, as including the following manifest. Payroll manifest of $57,606.55 for weekly and monthly payroll. 2019 accounts payable manifest of $10,296.89. An accounts payable manifest $41,856.32. And a supplemental accounts payable manifest of $16,875 for a total of $126,634.76. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Is there signatures on
Yes,
everything?
the signatures on everything.
Okay.
Your report?
Well, there's the building part, we can, well, let's move to the other one first. The only thing that's changed, we added the facility use public hearing, which will be Monday, February 3rd at 6:45, and that's been put in the paper.
Okay.
Posted for 2 weeks, and those that use the town hall on a regular basis have been invited to come, so we can talk about the change in fees. I may also give you a different eyes perspective on some of the groups that use it, and it may or may not change your mind. Tonight, you know, is a public hearing at 7 o'clock. That's why the crowd's here. Town report for 2019. You sent out your 2-page report.
I did.
You need to get that approved so we can pass it on. I don't know if you want to do that now or after.
We'll do it after.
So let's go to the government buildings. Government buildings, Gordon Brown Building, I think I shared with you an email about maybe having a site walk, over some potential water damage. The site walk obviously has to be during a day or on a weekend. I'm not sure what anybody's schedule looks like, and how do you get into that place?
I've got keys to it.
No, where's the door? Do you have to go tromp
Oh,
down around the
underneath.
snowbank?
Yeah,
Okay.
Bring snow boots.
bring your
Bring your
boots.
snowshoes.
Well, you won't want snowshoes, but unless we get more snow.
Well, we will get more snow. So I'm not sure what you want to do as far as scheduling that. What do you want to do?
Just email and give us a couple days, whichever.
Yeah, it'd
what
have to be a
times,
weekend.
whatever time
It'd have to be a
you're-
weekend for me to be
Whatever
there.
Well,
time
it's
you're
gonna say
available.
it's dark around
By 3:30.
4:45 anyway.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Really, and if you're gonna go into a place without lights, you're gonna want a little bit better
Daylight,
daylight
yeah.
than 4:30.
Yeah.
I can send some, if you're looking at a weekend date, are you looking at my schedule or you guys'
I
schedule?
schedule.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I should be around, but
Okay.
we've got,
I'm around. Just gotta know when.
Pick out a couple, 3 times and send them out and whatever's most accommodating, I think.
do you prefer Saturday or Sunday?
I don't think it matters to me.
Makes no difference to me.
All right, so I'll pick some dates and forward them. Other than that, I don't have anything more other than 11. The ongoing saga of the septic here at this building. We did have the wax ring replaced today. I'm gonna also look at getting quotes. We thought we solved the problem, putting in the air dryers, getting rid of the paper towel. I'm not sure if that's really solved it or not. Granite State Plumbing and Heating has a way of going through, picking up where the sag is and maybe map out what our route is.
Maybe
I
get
mean,
a,
because all the bathrooms are kind of tied together.
yeah, maybe a repair strategy.
When you flush one, the other one gurgles, so you can almost have your feet washed at the same time. But I don't know, we've spent since September is the first time I started calling them. And we've had an ongoing issue since September. We get about 2 weeks out of the system, and then we have to use the library or somewhere else. Because there seems to be, and everybody, I met a third guy today that's got his own way of figuring out how I want to do it. Every time I get somebody different that comes here, so. We had a long conversation today about maybe trying to map it out because they claim it's a sag in the pipe, but all the piping is underneath all the cement. But is it 2 feet under? Is it 6 feet under? I don't know how far it is. And without the camera and being able to give the depth of, how they're gonna do it. But they're gonna give me a price first, and see where that goes. But for the
Now-
time being, it works because they were here today.
Do they use the same pipe or the same end hole?
I'd have to ask Benji. I don't really know
Yeah.
how the system flows.
Okay.
Other than they tell me it's 160 feet in one direction, they've got camera footage.
Okay.
That's nice if I don't know which direction it
Yeah,
flows.
right, exactly. Okay.
So we're looking at that as well. I wish we'd had a price earlier, because,
Yeah.
if it's 5,000 or 20,000, it's
Something we gotta add.
something you
think
gotta
about.
do.
Yep.
But we'll see I'll keep you posted along the way, and I'm gonna keep it on there. Most of them are really items that, we're waiting on or waiting for the warrant for.
Mm-hmm.
And this town hall sign, I think it's gonna be spring now, obviously,
Yep.
because you can't dig. So basically, that's where we are on those items.
My imagination is the light pole over there bent. It looks like it's listing pretty good towards 114, like it got backed into and hit.
The light pole.
Which
Yeah.
light pole?
One as you,
Going up to
yeah.
the town hall on the left.
yeah,
Lean right
just
over.
before the
Lean right
sign.
over.
Yeah. Yep. It
don't
it
go
looks
that
like
far.
it's listing pretty good to the road. So I'm not imagining things.
No.
Okay,
you
good.
don't.
Before we go off the sign thing, I got a call from the guy that's doing the sign in front of the town hall.
Yep.
Saying that it was in the contract from the town
Take
to
your sign. Yep,
take
the la-
the small historical society sign and refreshen it.
Yeah, so it would look the same.
Yeah.
Did he?
He hasn't, but he just called me this
Okay,
last week,
because I had
so-
given him your phone number
Yeah.
before.
Yeah, and I just said.
But it was around the holidays that he called?
No, it's,
No, that he called me.
oh,
So,
yeah, it was probably maybe a week and a half ago at best, not too long ago, maybe a
Yeah,
week,
because
I
that
don't
was
know, I
part
didn't
of
write
it. He
down.
would take
Yeah,
and freshen
he'd
that
do
so it'd be the
both.
same color.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's all I have, actually. I don't have anything more.
Have any correspondence or other business? Anybody?
no,
You wanna go over your thing during the hearing or no?
the report?
The new one?
Yeah.
I'm gonna just roll that on Facebook
Okay.
tomorrow.
Okay. Oh, look at that, we're up to adjournment, okay.
All right.
Well, I mean, you probably could.
Yeah, we'll start early. So I get that out.
Pass these out.
Yep. All right, gonna open a public hearing to hear public testimony and comment on the 2020 overall proposed town budget, including all separate, special, and petitioned warrant articles, as well as disclosure of the default budget. We're gonna start that at 6:52.
Is that weird? Does it work for you?
I used to take my notes in a binder backwards.
I'm not sure, I was waiting kind of with Beth and Benji, they were gonna come as well, so
Okay.
guess you can get started.
Yep.
However you wanna.
I think Beth was coming in when I came from up a little bit ago. She's-
Okay. She hasn't made it back down yet.
Whoa. Now, who do we have to thank for this?
A joint effort, a lot of the time, a lot of it's Beth.
Okay. I was gonna say.
And you can thank her for the first page? Nope, inside. Because you delivered a session 7 to 7,
Yes.
just thought I'd let you know.
I'm not gonna be there
Really?
12 hours, I can tell you that right now.
I'm not gonna be here at 7 o'clock.
Just kidding. We'd already done it and we noticed a mistake, so I'm just kidding.
It is what it is. All right.
So how do you wanna,
Well, I don't know, this is the first
the
time I...
warrant's in the back part,
Yep, that's what I was just going to.
the rest is really good information that
Yeah.
I'm sure would be very interested. It's interesting, all, you know
All
what I
of it
mean?
is, yeah.
It explains everything, which we're also going to the finance committee on Wednesday night, so. So those of you in finance, keep it, because you don't get another copy. So I let you know.
She told you guys.
Saving paper. Color ink.
Wow.
Here she is.
Her or the Benji? Oh, it's her. Okay.
Oh, is that what you're waiting for? Yeah. We thanked you for the first page with
Yeah.
Zulu session date.
Yeah, because we opened a few minutes early.
That's,
We are open. That's fine.
Did you need me?
Well, we can pause. We can pause. Line information. Oh, you're fine. I'm on coughing and gagging over here.
So I don't know where you want to start, how you want to start.
Well, like I said, I think we'll go with the back.
The warrant articles,
Yeah.
if you don't do 2 or 3, or
Correct.
1, you start at
We
4.
start at 4,
And 4, all the information for 4
is in the front.
is in the front.
Yeah.
So you're gonna talk about the highs and lows, which you can find on what's proposed in 2020.
All right.
It's got the pie chart above it.
Jeez.
But that's fine, I made enough. We made enough. Yeah, I figured that. I didn't make him a lefty. I didn't make him a lefty one, so.
All right, where does the board want to start? A lot of information here. A lot of information. You guys have a preference or no? You start, Article 4?
Yeah,
Okay.
then they'll have questions. every
Oh, yeah.
month.
Yeah. All right, we'll start with Article 4, since we have nothing to do with 2 and 3. And 1 is obviously electing your town officers. Shall town raise and appropriate an operating budget? And it's listed as it goes. The proposed is $6,778,517, and default budget of
Oh, we gotta fix it. I messed up. And when we changed the default number, I didn't change it in the words. Damn. I'll fix it.
On the word.
Yeah.
That's right.
The number's right, but the words aren't, sorry. My mistake.
So the number is correct?
Yes, the number is correct, yes.
It matches what it,
600.
The words in the-
1,000.
Right, 6,000,000, it should be
970.
$6,636,602.
Oh, 30,
okay.
So this is
well, that's
wrong
not right
here.
then.
The words on the Article 4 are wrong as
Right,
far
but the
as-
number is correct. So $6,654,972. Article 4. Board have anything to say about Article 4?
And you are? Oh, that's what I thought.
That's what I thought too. Anybody on Article 4? As far as proposed and default. I was hoping there'd be one.
Neil Kirk, Mount Dearborn Road. Question, can we get some information as to why about the revenues? Is that, because that's not part of
it-
Article 4, but it really is related to it.
What type of information are you looking for?
Well, last year, this is on page 4.
Yep.
I'm looking at the totals. In 2019, when we did the budget, we estimated $3,494,000. We actually took in $3,741,000. This year, we're estimating for 2020, $3,448,000, which is not only $300,000 roughly lower than we actually received in 2019, but $50,000 less than we estimated. So the question is, is there something happening in town that suggests that we actually are going to get less money in 2020, whatever the number is, than we took in 2019? Because if this number were higher, then clearly the tax impact of everything we do would be much lower. So this is really a crucial number, and I'm just wondering if there's something you'd care to share with us as to why we're estimating lower revenues in 20 than we did in 19.
Well, I'll answer.
No, you're good.
So typically, we've always been the conservative. We've always done that. We ask our department heads what they think they're gonna get by the end of the year. I think you'd be more pleasantly surprised the other way if we told you it was gonna cost you 7 cents and it cost you 17 cents. That's why we conservatively estimate the revenues, because we really don't know what's gonna happen. You have a presidential election coming up, you have a lot of things coming up we don't know. So what we do is we ask the department heads what they think they're gonna get, and then we revisit it again in August, and we can change it again in August, and we can change it one more time in October.
I understand, but the issue is, we, the voters, have to make a decision in March. And it's nice to get a pleasant surprise in November, but we make our decisions in March based on this number, and they might be different in March if this number were $3,700,000 than it would be if it's $3,350,000.
I think it's hard for us to decide what's gonna be. So, I
Right.
mean, we do our best to conserve and figure out, kind of maybe an average over the last few years to do it that way. There's some state money that we can't guarantee that's there either,
Yeah,
so.
I'm just gonna have a problem. Yeah. Jan, go ahead.
I think one of the biggest areas is the sale of municipal property.
That's what I was gonna say.
And, that's $150,000, and we were able to sell some tax deeded property last year. We may not have
We may not have that number
that
next
availability
year.
this year
Yeah.
coming. So that's one of the biggest areas.
You know, this timber is 30 grand almost too.
Right, in that same area,
yeah.
down the bottom.
Right.
Yeah, and we had one large timber cut this year.
Yeah, we had, yeah,
Exactly.
exactly, so.
We may not have one next
I
year.
noticed the same thing, so I don't have anything to say.
Okay, Tom, thank you. Try and get your exercise. So. Okay. Any other questions on Article 4?
Frank Campana. I'm confused right from the get-go.
Yeah.
When you said the numbers,
I know, this
you know,
one here is not.
it looks like the numbers for the default number.
Yeah.
Looks like the printed number is different than what's on the
Yeah.
I
last
said
year.
that. I said the number that's at the beginning of
Right.
the article is incorrect.
Is that the one I read?
Okay, but
The number
then,
that you read.
but
Okay,
then,
that's
then I
incorrect.
was confused because you said that, well, the wording is right, but the number is wrong. I thought, it looks to me like the wording is wrong.
I didn't think it was that difficult, but if you look.
Well,
at
I
the ch-
didn't either,
If you
but-
look at the chart on the next page, 6,636,602 is the
Correct.
default number.
My mistake,
Correct.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
And it's
the
not
default.
what says here.
It's not in the
I
text.
changed the number here, but I didn't change the words at the beginning of
Oh,
the article.
okay, all right.
So, my apologies, Frank.
What I said earlier.
Yeah. So the new default number, I say new, the actual default number, $6,636,602. The proposed number has not changed, $6,778,517. Again, I apologize.
I took it the way you did.
Thought it was clear, but obviously not.
Anybody else for Article 4? Yep.
Chris Haig, I think I may have missed some details. The last time we heard about a library budget, they had said there would be a lot of changes made in it, and I see that it has gone down. At the time, they were proposing about a 10% raise, and I'd be interested to know what changed in that budget. It was, well, let's see. I have the figure in my bag, but the proposed for this year is 233,657. And I just would like to know if they changed anything since the original proposal.
No, they didn't change it.
I
Nothing was
don't
changed.
believe they changed anything.
No.
The warrant article
it's
for the
warrant
staffing
articles,
was
yeah.
changed,
Yeah, but not their proposed.
not the proposed.
So they
Budget
still
number.
have a 10% raise.
Well,
believe s-
whatever the
yes.
warrant articles are.
Yes. I'm getting a nod from the trustee in the back. Yes.
That would put it up in the range of Goffstown and Bow. It would be above towns of our like size. It's a substantial raise. And also, I'm wondering if there are raises for the staff, because they were below standard before. We're kind of in the ballpark right now, but the staff was low, and that staff needs to come up.
Brenda Cannon, Grandview Drive. The reason that we had the raise for the director was based on all the things that the director has done for this town. As Mike always said, it's recruitment and retention. Without those two things, you're going to have a tough time. And he always kind of reminded us that, yeah, I've done all these things, but if there ever comes a time when I'm not around and you need to bring someone in, you're going to have a tough time bringing someone in at $52,000 a year. I did a little survey based on the from the New Hampshire Library Association. I got numbers from Goffstown, New Boston, Henniker, surrounding towns, and Ware was actually at the bottom of the list for everybody. I believe, and I'm just going off the top of my head right now because I don't have my information with me. Ware was about, it came out to about $26 an hour that Ware was paying, whereas the next lowest town was, I believe, $30-some an hour. And I'll be happy to furnish you with those numbers, Chris.
$24.96 for Barrington, which is our comparison town, $29 for Hopkinton, $22.11 for Hillsborough, $34.66 for Henniker, and $38.29 for Goffstown. So for a town of with our tax base, we're in a reasonable range. The staff is not.
Well, I didn't look at tax base. I looked at just what directors were getting at other towns. Staff is being addressed with the Warren article, and that's kind of the way we're going, but
Was that budgeted, I saw in the minutes, 60 to 80 hours?
yes. Mike was doing innumerable hours that were
Well,
not.
almost every library director in New Hampshire does more than their hours, but if you advertise for 60 hours, I don't think anybody's going to apply
Oh,
for the job.
we're not advertising for 60 hours. We're just saying on our Warren article that this person was doing that many hours.
I think all the library directors do more than 40 hours. 60 to 80.
Most people in their jobs do more than 40 hours.
Yeah,
That's true.
it put me in the hospital. I don't think that most people would apply for an 80-hour job, so you budget for what you have, but you do need staff and retention of staff, so those wages have to come up because it's very hard to hire and wear.
It's true, and that's why we gave more money to the director, because Mike turned the library around with Where in the World, bringing in all the programs, all the outreach, bringing in competitive chess to the schools. These are things that just did not happen before, and that's why, we thought it was important that if he ever did leave, we needed to have someone.
Well, I'm not disputing that. I'm just saying that proportionally to what our other people are getting. But, okay.
Okay.
The salary increase for the library director is buried in the budget. I had thought we had a practice in this town, certainly not always followed, of putting all raises in warrant articles. For the little people, for their 2% and 3% raises, we have a separate warrant article. But for the big people, we apparently don't. The library director's getting a $10,000 or $20,000 increase. The fire chief just got a $10,000 increase by the fire wards. I understand that. And the library is comparably set up statutorily and by the town. But I think this really goes against what the people of this town are asking for, and that is, we want to vote when people are getting salary increases. And I think the selectmen and the library and the fire department are very wrong in trying to circumvent the wishes of the town. Thank you.
Anybody else for Article 4? Okay, we'll move on to Article 5. Article 5 is for the 3-year collective bargaining agreement with the New England Police Benevolent Association for the department employees, which calls for the following increases in salary and benefits at the current staffing level. Fiscal year 2020 would be a $39,943 increase. 2021, $16,904. In 2022, $23,289. Any comments on Article 5?
How about sharing with us some more information? What's the percentage increase in salaries each year? What are the other factors in this contract? Why is this a good deal or a bad deal? I assume the selectmen are going to recommend it. In fact, it says you are. So how about an explanation of really what this front-loaded contract is going to do for the town?
So, what we did is we met with the, but I think we met about 3 times, with the union, and tossed around some different ideas. What came to the table, and what ended up at the table is about $100,000 less. The only real cost that you're gonna see, there is a lot of housekeeping that's gonna be done and cleaning up and making definitions a little more straight. And the vacation is gonna be done on a monthly accrual basis, no longer, beginning of the, when their period, when their vacation starts. Like I said, the clothing allowance is gonna be paid on a reimbursement basis, but the large one that you're looking at is the, first year's increase. And, with working with Chief Moore and the union and our side, it's about $40,000 when it costs to kind of get someone through the door to be a police officer. So we felt that if we could keep the cost under the replacement of 1, which he has openings for 2 at the moment, that it was kind of, it would give them a bigger boost. It would also give our number for per hour for the police department maybe that much more attractive, for the fact that I think every police department around us has a ton of openings. So our thought was if we could keep the first year under the cost of recruitment for 1 person, which is where we came up with a $39,943. And what that does represent, it represents a 6.39% increase from April 1st to December 31st, the first year, so that's 9 months. Years 2 and 3 are just a straight 3%, 3%.
If I heard you correctly, that was 6.39% for 9 months?
Correct.
It's an annualized how much? 9% or thereabouts? 8%?
And then we did 3 and 3.
One of the problems with any organization is management's need for flexibility to be able to deploy people at the right time in the right place. Were we able to eliminate some of the very restrictive provisions in the contract with respect to the number of officers who have to do each shift, with respect to the use of part-time officers, with respect to the use of regular officers for all overtime, these kinds of things which, if we had flexibility, would enable the chief to provide better service for the town and without a cost increase. So the question, to sum it up, is were there any changes made to give management, the chief, more flexibility in the deployment of officers?
Well, he has a lot of management rights. It's the problem that we don't have enough staff. We have one at military.
I wasn't asking about the
Well,
number
you
of
asked about
staff.
flexibility and moving people around, so I think that goes to that.
No,
You have 2 openings. You have 1 that can't go back to work yet because he was the victim of the shooting. You also have 1 that's at the military, and we have another one that hasn't been cleared yet. So you've got 5 out of your 11 that can't be on the street. So he's got the flexibility of doing it, but to do it with 6 people and to try to cover all but 4 hours.
Naomi, that wasn't my point. I understand there's a problem there. I'm talking about, should we ever become fully staffed, it would be very nice if the chief had a great deal of flexibility. Right
Yes.
now, I've been told that he has some flexibility because the officers are being quite reasonable when it comes to some of the contract provisions. But I'm looking forward to the future. This is a 3-year contract. The officers are getting an exceptionally large increase. I'm reasonably sure that you guys are not going to do that for the town employees. So I was hoping that there would be some offsetting benefit to the town that was in the contract, but based on your answer, I think you're really telling me, no, we didn't make any changes in those provisions.
You can take it that way, I guess, sure.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else on Article 5?
So, think of it this way, it's a market adjustment. Because of various factors, including the retirement getting messed with in New Hampshire, New Hampshire is not a very desirable state to be a police officer, as well as the nation right now. The media's killed us. Nobody wants to be a police officer anymore. Everybody has vacancies. Nobody wants to come do this job. You have to keep what you got, or you're not going to have a police department. It costs about $40,000 a year. $40,000 to retrain a police officer. That's where we came up with that number. Try to keep what we got because you have a very good crew who's very dedicated. And Naomi was correct that the CBA requires 2 people per shift. They've kind of waived that. They're not demanding that I tell them, nope, you got to stay because we got to have 2 people. Day shift is pretty much 1 officer, and they're getting the job done. They're working a lot. They're doing a very good job. No lawsuits since I've been here. Throw that one out there. So,
How long have you been here, Chief?
just this June, but you know, it's that like that little sign on the wall, like 0 days without an accident. You know, we're moving in the right direction. But they're still below comparing towns. Somebody just showed me, where was it? Yeah, 50.
Town of Warner.
Yeah, Warner just advertising for $50,000 starting pay. We're about 46, so we're $4,000 below starting pay. It's a New Hampshire retirement system. They can pick up and go like that. They don't have to do anything. All it is one form reporting to Police Training and Standards Council saying, I no longer work at where I work at a neighboring jurisdiction. They don't lose anything. We lost 2 that way last year. One went to Nashua. We're not going to compete with them. They're about $70,000 a year. It is what it is. The other one went to Antrim. He went from, I think it was 23-ish to 27, 28. He's the one who still works here part-time. So, any other questions? A little bit more like, it's a cost-benefit analysis, and that's pretty much what it was. It's trying to get us more marketable where what neighboring jurisdictions are paying. We're still not at the median. We're below the median. But it's going to hopefully make everybody happy where we don't lose what we got, where it'll cost us even more because we're already behind with 2 vacancies, which is that big overtime budget, which is about $100,000.
I did ask the last meeting if there would be a copy of the contract available. Is there one tonight?
The actual contract?
Yeah.
I mean,
I know you were kind of joking, 100 pages. Oh, no, maybe I
It's
said.
a lot of pages, and a lot of it's housekeeping.
Okay.
The cost items is what I explained.
Well, let me just hunt and pick here. The contract that they're under now, there was a line in the budget that was called education allowance, amounted to about $1,400, I believe. And when this contract that they're under now was bargained, the selectmen at the time, they kindly gave the police that $1,400 or $1,500 as part of their pay. And I remember someone up here commenting, it wasn't me, someone commented at the time that now that that $1,400 is part of their pay and not, in fact, all you need to do is look at the town report. You'll see a line for uniform allowance, year after year, and now it's disappeared. So it has become part of their pay, and when the person commented on that at the time, he said, now, that $1,400, that increases when they get overtime, that increases their pay in general for the year. He had figures which, I wouldn't begin to try to, remember. So I'm wondering, is there, again, I'm kind of shooting from the hip here. Is there a uniform allowance that's been instituted in the?
It's a $500.
I'm sorry, education
Oh.
An education allowance,
So
that
education
the-
allowance on the last signing
yes,
equated it to 24 cents an hour for an associate's degree, 48 cents an hour for a bachelor's, 72
Okay.
cents an hour for master's.
okay,
So
that's
if
what I
you
was-
come to us with one of those degrees,
Yes,
you get the hourly rate plus that
okay,
an hour addition for that degree.
okay.
We don't pay for the degree,
Right,
pay
no,
for it themselves.
right, okay, I get.
But it
that,
was
yeah.
equated in the last one to this schedule that you have now.
Okay. Is there anything like that? I mean, I don't know what else they have to bargain for unless you reinstitute an education allowance again. Did they ask for an education allowance?
No.
Okay.
The only, I mean, the only thing we got was, we asked for, right, when you first came, you could have, if you've got 200 hours of vacation for the year, after your first day of your anniversary date, you got all 200 hours. You
Okay,
didn't accrue it on a monthly basis like everyone else that works here does.
okay,
So we asked, instead of going away from the front loading, if we could make an accrual for the monthly, which they did.
okay,
The other thing is, they get $500 for reimbursement for uniforms. We asked to do that on a reimbursement, not just cut you a check. You have to
Okay.
actually show me you purchased something.
okay.
So we got that.
That certainly sounds
Yeah,
reasonable.
the rest of it honestly is to get the address for the new place, adding protected classes to the discrimination laws, just the little things.
Okay,
Added corporal for down the road when we decide that we'll get a corporal.
okay,
The other thing, housekeeping, we do it now. If you opt out of the health insurance, you're paid $5,500, but it didn't tell you that we do it quarterly. So we added the words "to be paid quarterly." So it's those little things that don't cost, but the cost things, we did the reimbursement and then we did the vacation on an accrual basis versus front loading you for the whole year.
okay. All right, I guess, without reading it, so, and I'll take you for what you said, of course. But I just want to make sure, a lot of times, and I'm not saying accusingly, but a lot of times when contracts are discussed, either here or, at the school level, the people presenting, an overview of the contract, kind of only tell you what they think they want the public to hear. And I'm not accusing,
Oh,
okay?
takes
I
more
mean,
than that to
be-
offend me. You know
because-
that.
Because that, it's a fact, that's what happens. They manipulate the information.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thanks.
So to go back to that, so we're not doing the educational one?
And the last contract, we moved the education to the per hour. So if you
Okay.
had an associate's, you got 24
Right,
cents.
okay, so that is
48.
included now.
Right, so any of
Okay.
the people that have certain degrees, they get that much more. If you
Okay, I just
don't-
wanted to
Yeah, if you
clarify
don't
it.
have, if you don't have a degree, there's nothing added to your hourly wage.
Okay.
Hello, Clarence Gardner, John Connor Road. These increases that we're talking about in Article 5, it says at the current staffing level. Does that mean the 11 people or the 6 that are actually working?
It's at the 11,
Okay,
because we have ability to make 11. So what we have to do is we have to kind of guess at what we might hire.
so if they all come back, this won't suddenly jump up?
Well, I don't know if anybody's gonna come back, but I'm just saying that the two vacancies, we kind of have to guess. At a family plan, at a master's, and we kind of put them somewhere. But the ones that are just not here are still in the staff. Yeah.
I did, again, on hunting and picking. Is there any change in the language, I guess in the language for holiday pay? You may remember, some years back, they were getting like triple time for holiday pay. That
2.5.
that was changed.
Right,
You know,
it's,
so-
we defined holiday pay, and then it's 1.5 times,
Okay,
so it's 2.5 times.
okay. And is there any change in their contribution to insurance?
No, stays the same as everyone else's.
And that,
10%.
I think it was the 10%, right?
Yes,
Was that discussed at all? Was it discussed by the,
was not discussed at either side.
okay.
Anything else for Article 5? Okay, we'll go on to Article 6. Shall town raise and appropriate $61,832 to be used for raises for the non-union town and library personnel? That is representative of 3%.
Correct.
Correct. Representative 3% across the board. Any comments on Article 6?
Good evening. You said 3% across the board?
3%.
Is there a wage adjustment?
I'm sorry, I take that back. There's 3% plus,
A stipend.
Stipend.
Or an additional increase for
yeah,
DPW director.
for DPW
yes.
director.
I
I
was trying to find
apologize.
that, yes.
And that was 8,000, correct?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
8,000. There was an $8,000 stipend in this number as well.
What do they call it, stipend?
Well, salary increase for the DPW director, as well as 3% across the board for all the others.
As was mentioned earlier, historically, Ware has always been involved with approving wage adjustments above and beyond the 2 or 3% for hourly employees, non-union employees. In 2018, unfortunately, I brought the wrong report, but in 2018, the amount of money for non-union employees, the raise was $26,855. According to this, it's $61,832. I think I don't think this is correct. I think you should break out the warrant article for the Department of Public Works Director. Have that voted on separately. That is not a general wage increase that is typically shown on the warrant for non-union employees. This is above and beyond that. You don't specify it in here. I think it needs to be specified. I don't think it's going to hurt the individual. I think it's going to help the individual. I think it makes it harder for the board because now you're going to have to justify the increase. But you just rolled it into the general raise for all non-union employees. I just don't think that's right.
Hi,
Aye.
Lynn Kirk. I wonder if you could break down how many town employees that make, let's say, under $15 an hour this encompasses, and how many make over, let's say, $40,000, so that we know. One of my concerns, and it was sort of brought up earlier, is that like there are some staff over at the library that are making $9 an hour and have worked there for years. And I think at this time, that's so unreasonable. So if they get a 3% increase at $9 an hour, so what are they getting? 50 cents? Maybe? Probably not. How much? 27 cents. 27 cents. And somebody making over $70,000, $60,000 is getting a big chunk. So I wonder if you could break it out.
What was your breakdown again? Could you ask? Can you? What
Under
was your breakdown?
15,000.
Under $15.
And?
Below 15.
Yep.
And, I don't know, pick a number. 40. Thank you.
So one's dollar, one's thousand. $40, 40,000.
40,000. What? Yeah, $40,000.
7 employees under $15. Those are mostly part-time.
What?
There's only 7 employees under $15 an hour, and those are part-time.
Is that including library?
Yeah, those are the part-time ones. Not those are the, what is Hunter? Does he shovel snow? Yeah. Yeah.
And what does that mean in numbers to this 61,000?
But yours are all over 15.
What I'm trying to do is figure out how we're boosting up the people that for livelihood needs to be boosted up, and those people who otherwise.
I think one thing to point out here in this particular dollar amount is Naomi, for the first 2 years of her contract, did not get included into the pool, and I believe she is included this year for the first time, so that's one of the,
One of the differences there, yeah.
Salaried employees. I don't know.
Benji?
I don't disagree that if someone makes under $15 an hour, they might not be in line for a wage adjustment, but I don't think that should affect the percentage of the raise across the board for non-union. Last year, I felt that my employees were not making enough, and I asked for a separate warrant article for an increase, so I don't think we should segregate between what the hourly wage is, 3%, 3%. If some are making not enough, then that department head should rightfully
Try and ante
ask
up.
for any.
A thought for the future. Ware used to have a benefit review committee, and if there was a body of employees that didn't have a comparable wage to, say, other towns or to other parts of the town of Ware, the benefit review committee could look at that. And it is true, the library staff is underpaid, and hiring the aides and the pages and so forth is tough because they are underpaid, and there are probably other departments that are underpaid. It might be to the advantage of this town to start a benefit review again and just look at the big picture. It can't be done for this budget, but I think it would help us resolve some of these things for the future.
Thank you for putting the DPW director's wage in a warrant article. However, I think the warrant article now is somewhat misleading and therefore needs to be changed. I think in order to make it clearer to townspeople what they're voting on, you should insert that the raise is a 3% raise and that there's an $8,000 raise for the DPW director. I know that's hanging it out, and that may pose a problem for some people, but I think it's really fair that the voters understand that this is not just what the article usually is. And so, for clarity and fairness, I would ask that you amend this to reflect those two factors, that it's a 3% raise and that the DPW director is getting a separate raise. If you wanted to put his raise in a separate article, that would even be better, but this is certainly better than what we've done in the past, so thank you for that.
Right, Campana? I'm not picking on the person, and I'm not picking on necessarily the dollar amount, but the last speaker, Mr. Kirk, kind of stole my thunder. I think in order for the board to use the word transparency whenever, or department heads, when they use the word transparency, you better mean it. You should mean it, okay? I think the DPW director's raise should be in a separate article. Did you discuss that to be in a, and you did, you're shaking your head yes. Well, you discussed initially a $5,000 raise, right? Now it's up to the $8,000 raise.
Benji.
Again, I'm not, trying to pick on the person or necessarily the amount. But, in transparency, last year it was already mentioned, there was $1 an hour increase for the highway folks. It was a separate article. You can call it a raise, you can call it a pay increase, it's more money that they're getting, all right? And I think that should be in a separate article, and don't hide it. Don't mislead the public. You're not misleading the public because they don't know it to begin with. Tell it like it is. What's wrong with that? transparency.
There isn't anything wrong with it, and that's why we have 16 people in here to tell us that in a public hearing,
Well,
so.
well, I know, but a lot of times public hearings fall on deaf ears, with all due respect, and you know that also. And when you're talking about the 3%, was there any consideration? I know there was none last year. Last year's Social Security was 2%. This year, it's 1.6%. You know, somebody that's going to get 3% that's making, a town employee that's maybe making $40,000 a year, that's $1,200. You know, I mean, if my Social Security was as such that I could make $1,200 at 1.6%, I wouldn't even be here. Probably. You know, there's never any consideration given. You know, it's just hunt and pick. You know, it was suggested last year for raises, for the similar article, 2.5%. Well, that didn't fly. In fact, I think the person that suggested it voted for the 3%. So when are you going to give consideration to, the ordinary person? I know there might be somebody out there that says that, the average income in, the town of Ware is, $90,000. Well, there are a lot of people that don't make that either. So I think 3% is, it's always a question of, a percent of what amount of money. I think that's excessive. And there was also a suggestion, I believe it was the last meeting, to tie this article to the police. I mean, that's what was done last year. The 3% last year was tied to what the cops were getting. So if the police are getting a 6.3%, whatever that amount was, in the first year, did you discuss giving the town employee, the non-union people, a 6.3% increase? Did you discuss that to maybe satisfy that person's comment? Did you discuss a 6 point?
He wasn't here last week.
I wasn't here last week.
Oh, okay.
It was
You're
brought
off-
up
you're
last
off
week.
the-
It was
you're off
brought
the
up
hook.
last week, Frank.
Pardon me?
It was brought up and discussed.
It was.
Yeah.
But then it was discussed to do 4% for each year, for 3 years. That
And
was
the
one of the
staff said no.
suggestions.
The staff-
That was
The
suggested
staff didn't
too
want
by someone.
4% because it was too high.
Okay. Well, I would tell, like, when it comes to articles like this, I'd like the board to consider, what might be out there by other government entities, and use that as a,
Meaning surrounding us?
no, I'm talking about federal government.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I'm not a government person, that's why I'm kind of reluctant to say
No, I didn't
that.
know if you meant what surrounds us is what I was thinking.
No. But also, just to reiterate, I really think you're doing a disservice by not having that person's pay in a separate article. I'm sure he would get it, but, transparency.
If you do reopen discussion on this, you might consider creating a base. Dunkin' Donuts part-timers can make $12 an hour. Certainly, I don't belittle the person who's working at Dunkin' Donuts, but there is a different level of responsibility to a person who's working a town job, whether it's in the library or somewhere else. So you might consider saying, okay, what is our base that we want for non-union employees, and for that 1 year, put them on that base and then add the 3%. Now, I know it would increase this warrant article, but I'm just tossing it out as a way to discuss this so that you don't have people who've been with us for a number of years working in the library or elsewhere who are making less than a part-timer at Dunkin' Donuts.
Just for clarification, could you tell me, other than the library, are there any town employees making $12 an hour or less?
What did the part-time at the transfer station get? Isn't it 12?
$13.99.
Oh, $13.99, okay.
All the employees that make less than 15 are part-time.
So in terms of establishing a base, it was brought up earlier during the police contract discussion about another town, the amount of money they get. Well, what are the benefits that those officers get at that town? How much insurance, percentage of the insurance do they have to pay? Do they get an education allowance built into their salary?
I don't know.
We don't know. So when you start talking salaries and establishing a base, you really need to consider other factors if you're comparing it to other towns. I think it's very dangerous. It's a very slippery slope when you get into that situation. You know, I hear on the school side and here on the police department side that we're trying to catch up. We're trying to be competitive. We're never. You hear that discussion every single year. We're never competitive because there are other benefits in other towns. They're bigger departments, more opportunity for advancement. We're a small department, fairly good-sized town, but in terms of we're limited in opportunities for promotion. It's a vertical. There's not a lot of horizontal movement in the police department, so I think we have to accept that. And just could you clarify one thing for me? Not necessarily related to the warrant. You had mentioned there are 5 individuals in the police department that are not available for patrol or unable to patrol, including there are 2 openings. There's one person that's injured. And I'm not sure what the other 2 are, I guess.
One's on military leave.
Right.
That's right, military leave.
And then one is on.
We haven't got the clearance for him yet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Just waiting on doctor's clearance.
Yeah.
Oh, so they're just temporarily.
Yeah, they're working in the office, they just can't get out on the road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to clarify, for the library, they get no benefits.
Thank you.
Helene, you were talking about, when you came up and said they get no benefits, you're talking about the part-time help.
At the library.
There's only one full-time person anyway.
Yeah.
One afterthought on the $8,000 is in there. If you do choose not to separate it out, is that person still getting 3% on top of the $8,000?
Yes.
Yes.
Wonderful.
If that article doesn't pass, then the Department of Public Works Director is not going to get an $8,000 salary adjustment. Is that right?
The way it's written, no.
That's the way it's written.
So the amount of money that's in there is based on him getting the $8,000 plus 3% of that? Is that how it was computed?
I believe so. Sounds like it.
Yes.
Board have anything to say about Article 6? Well, I think.
I think it should be clarified.
Yeah, I would lean to agree with the comments about making a separate warrant article. Because that has been the way it's always been, is when you see that article in the verbiage that it is,
Yeah.
it's always been intended for a blanket
3% raise.
across the board.
Right,
So I'm inclined to pull it.
right,
I'm inclined to pull it down and pull the separate warrant article.
for the 8,000.
Correct. Yes, no, maybe?
Second?
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, so we'll pull that. It'll be its own separate standalone.
And I think it's kind of late this year, but maybe what we could do with the part-time is just a suggestion is maybe for the next 3 years or something, give them $1 an hour increase for the next 3 years. And that way in 3 years, they'd be up to 12.
I think
I know
that'd be next year to.
Yeah, it'd
I
be
would think,
next
yeah.
year, but
Yeah.
just a suggestion.
Right.
We do have one warrant article on here from the library that's taking I believe, a part-time person making them full-time. Am I correct? So, and I'm assuming.
But Article 9 doesn't touch any of the part-time
No,
staff.
Right, which
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Which those are the ones that are,
wasn't brought to us.
right. So. So what's the new number would be, for 6 would be just that number minus the 8? Is that correct in saying that? Okay.
53,
Huh?
53,
53,
832.
okay,
What is it? 53 what?
832.
You can subtract the
Right,
benefits with
because
it
that's gonna be
for
the benefits as well, so,
FICA
yeah, I
and
thought there would be more.
retirement and everything else.
I thought there'd be more.
So it'd be 52,326.
52,326.
And the other article would be what, 9?
95,
$9,505, around it, 9,506.
okay. We'll have that written for the next time. Anybody else on Article 6, as it's written now, revised? Okay, Article 7. Shall town raise and appropriate sum of $47,714 to hire one additional full-time public works employee? The number represents 9 months of wages, taxes, and benefits. If approved, the addition will become part of the budget, and the annual cost anticipated to be $63,749. Article 7.
Bill Reynolds.
One employee.
I think I answered my own question while I was reading this, but at the beginning of Article 4, it says this doesn't include appropriations by warrant articles.
Correct.
So that means that this Article 7 money is not part of this big increase on line W.
Right.
That, are those increases in Article 4 just general life is more expensive increases?
If you go
for the most
back
part?
to page 6,
Sorry.
it tells you the increases.
Okay,
In the booklet, page 6 tells you the increases on the top. Increases and decreases, I should say.
okay, sorry about that.
Yeah,
This,
this whole
does
breakdown,
public,
there's 14 pages of
Yeah,
breakdown.
there's also 14 pages of breakdown in between.
Before the article.
Yeah, in between that has the ups and the downs is, yeah,
okay.
yeah.
And does public works employee mean something in particular?
It's, instead of being, I mean, it's not gonna be a firefighter or, it's gonna be Public Works, Department of Public Works, so.
Highway Department.
Highway Department, truck driver, shovel operator, et cetera.
Okay.
I think it would be really helpful if you could put in here just 2 or 3 words explaining what this person is doing, as to give folks justification for approving this article. In other words, why is it that we need another employee? What's he going to be doing? And I know that that's usually in the discussion, but you can make this much more attractive and transparent to people if there's some way you could say, and Benji probably has the words, at least what the person's title is, so that.
Well, you can also tie your hands by doing that too.
Oh,
You want to tie your hands to what he's going to do?
I don't know. I don't know
think
what
so.
the person is going to do.
I think this leaves it open for Benji to put him at the transfer station, or her, transfer station, drive a truck, drive the grader, run a shovel, where in your explanation for the purpose, you can explain what we're looking for, then you're not strictly tying your hands to the question.
That's true, but then you're saying that there's some additional workload that is required of the department, which is fine.
Well, you may flag one day, you may shovel one day, you may run the grader one day, you may run the truck.
Advertised as a truck driver in the paper.
I guess my thinking is that, and this may be really for the discussion at the deliberative session and for some language in the explanatory, but All of a sudden, nothing's changed in the town and we need another employee in the highway department? Or has something changed in town where people would understand that we do need this kind of a
Sure.
person?
I
Just
think,
answer the phone on a snowstorm, you'll figure it out.
yeah.
So we're understaffed, is that the
Well,
idea?
When you get a-
Just,
when
to
you get a
answer
broken-
one of Neil's questions, I believe, it would be advertised as a truck driver like all my other positions. And we're never full staffed in the summer. It's the only time we can use our vacation time. As we're on call from April 15th, November 15th, we're not allowed to take vacation. Which, you know, that almost 1,500 hours of vacation that I have to allow my guys to take. So we're always understaffed. And we've had 25 years with this amount of staffing, and I didn't bring in all my list of roads, but it's been over 10, nearly 15 roads added since then. 6 or 8 miles of road, which is a whole nother plow route just since then. Never mind, went from a highway department to a public works. You know, we help all other entities in town out. So we do a lot more than they did in the 90s when they had the same number of employees back then. And in the wintertime, they would plow snow. I would not ask for an additional truck. We have one more little truck that my mechanic has still got a small plow route. And I would completely take him out of that, so. just take it off. If there's any question on what you do with it. And I still plow.
Anybody else for Article 7?
Try to get it out of the way tonight, not the next meeting coming up. I know I know Benji, the highway department has a part-time driver, has a part-time person. Is that part-time person gonna stay? And if so, okay, I heard yes. So, you know, I don't quite understand why we're hiring a full-time person, and we still need an additional part-time person. I mean, that means that the workload is not just related to, you know, the extra miles of road that we have to justify a full-time person, but where's the justification for maintaining a part-time person?
Part-time person is, although we do use him flagging in the summer when we're in a crunch, is mainly just for plowing snow. It's 10 hours a week, is what he's budgeted for, so. We've had 3 storms this year that's went over 48 per storm, so it doesn't take too long to chew that time up, so.
Basically, just in a plow truck. That's the main priority of that
That's the
person.
main thing. I've had him help flag, but, you know, we can run full staff all summer in trucks, cleaning culverts, hauling gravel, dirt roads, building road, maintaining roads. So when guys are on vacation, if I hire another CDL driver, then I'll just drive somebody's truck, and that's the intent. Patch holes, do the same thing the rest of my guys do.
And Ben, are you working? Are you plowing all winter long?
Yeah, I'm there. I plow my pickup, help out. I run loader.
So you're actually working, even though that's not in your job description, when you have beyond your
Yeah,
40 hours?
I can't help myself. I like being there with them, so.
All right.
But the workload has gotten much bigger. I mean, I guess other than not believing me, I don't know how else to tell you that. If you don't believe me, you don't believe me. Come sit at my chair, read Facebook, which I'm no part of. You know, when we're not on the road 5 minutes after we were just there, it's. You believe me, you believe me. If you don't, you don't. I guess. Can't explain it.
Anybody else, Article 7? Okay. Article 8. Shall the town raise and appropriate sum of $99,158 to hire 2 full-time firefighter EMTs, represents wages, taxes, and benefits for 26 weeks and certain one-time expenses. If approved, the fire department operating budget be reduced by $35,000, and this addition will become part of the annual operating budget. Estimated cost to be $178,314. Article 8. Nobody on Article 8? Oh.
If this does pass, does that mean the default budget would be reduced as well?
I believe
You should think about that.
Next year's default budget.
next year's default budget.
I wonder if we just ask the chief what the overall plan is. I certainly agree with the growth of the department and the direction it's headed with full-time people. But where are we headed? Are we looking for 2 additional people? I know it was mentioned at one time a few years ago. 2 more people next year, or the year after, or where are we capping this?
As we spoke last year, we came forward with a plan, a multi-year plan, to solve some of our issues. We have some very big systemic issues. I'm always looking for that analogy, how to get that point across to people. And so we had one that I came up with recently. We used to talk about whack-a-mole. Right, we'd have a problem here, we'd whack that one down, we'd have another problem, and it would just kind of go around in a circle. And I kind of thought about that sandcastle at the beach, trying to build a sandcastle at the beach, knowing that the tide's coming in. And, you know, you build your sandcastle and you work on this part, and then the water kind of erodes that, and it collapses. And that's what we've been doing for a long time. And it started back in 2010 or 2009 when the department couldn't answer its calls that it was having, and that kind of got the ball rolling into looking at actually paying people to be in the fire station. And currently we pay people to be either in the fire station for 15 hours a day, or the overnight piece we're compensating people to be on call, and so we're paying for coverage 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And what we realized with that sandcastle analogy was that just when we think we got something fixed, we'd have another problem somewhere else. And so we really needed to have that paradigm shift of the staffing models that we had put together and had relied on for years, for literally 10 years, have just run out of gas. And so we needed to change the relationship that the town had with our employees to make them our own, so that we could kind of control their schedule and their availability more slanted in our favor than currently, which is they're all part-time people. This is not their full-time job, obviously, and so when their full-time job demands them to be out there, they're not working for us and they're not available to work for us. And that's created some really large gaps in our coverage. So we came forward last year with a 4-year plan. Looking out at 2023, I think it was, we had predicted to be at a call volume that was probably 20% higher than where we are today. And then we felt that we really should be at a full-time model at that point. And so how gradual could we make that increase in staffing and that cost associated with that staff to be the most palatable for the taxpayer, because we obviously have to be able to get a yes vote, in the voting booth. And so we came forward with a 4-year plan, hiring 2 firefighter EMTs per year to get to 8, which would allow us that 24/7 coverage, 365 days a year, augmented with a call force that should provide, solve a lot of the issues, if not all of the issues that we have currently, but provide a very good base of providing service as far as I can see.
Anybody else on Article 8?
My first question is, any of the fire department people, I guess they're considered non-union, so are they included in, I don't know if it's still, won't be Article 6 anymore, but, I'm sorry, Article 5, but are they included for pay raises in what was Article 5?
Yes.
I believe so.
Yes.
Pardon me?
I believe so.
Okay. I remember last year, and correct me if I'm wrong, the
Article
Board of
five-
Fire
Article
Ward.
five is
Article
not.
6. It's Article 6.
Article 5 is the police.
Article 6 is the non-union.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
right, okay. In my opinion, the Board of Fire Wards seem to work in their own separate zip code, I guess. Easiest way for me to say it. They gave some of their people $1 an hour increase. I think it was last year, around July. That, was not a separate article because the board doesn't have any control over the Board of Fire Wards. And they gave the fire chief the $10,000 raise. So I guess I'm wondering, with the addition of these people, not speaking for or against, but in conjunction with the chief's presentation of the future, what is perceived as not the real crystal ball, but the impact on the operating budget? Personnel, benefits, they're going to get, I wouldn't even begin to guess, what they might get for benefits. Holiday pays, I guess, some people are going to start getting vehicles to take home, once we get ahead on vehicles. So if it's appropriate to ask that here, what might be the perception of impact on the operating budget for other things, other than just what the article states? And if it's not appropriate, I'll understand.
I don't know how you can do that.
Huh?
How can you do that?
I don't know.
Well,
I mean, I guess,
here's what I'm thinking. Okay, he wants 8 people over 4 years, right?
Yep.
All right. Where are they going to be housed? 24/7.
fire station.
Yeah, where? Where's the sleeping quarters? Where's the kitchen area?
At the fire station.
At the fire station.
Oh, I didn't realize that there were sleeping quarters built into the fire station when it was built that
They-
many years ago.
They have changed it, revamped it, and now there is.
Perfect. Okay, great.
Okay. Anybody else on Article 8? Any questions for the fire chief about it? Okay, we'll move on to Article 9. Shall the town raise and appropriate $12,249 representing cost of turning one part-time employee into a full-time employee and adding a part-time staff hours? Represents wages and benefits for 8 months. If this article is approved, it would become part of the annual operating budget with an estimated annual cost of $18,198. Tom?
I don't know if something was inadvertently left out, but it
Yeah,
doesn't tell
library.
what
That's for the
department
library.
this refers
Library.
to.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't say that there.
No, it's not,
Yeah,
we
it
don't
should-
have it.
We're gonna add one sentence, because we realize that too.
Okay.
And the sentence is going to say, in order to meet the increased demand for library services,
Whereabouts are you gonna add that?
at the very beginning.
For adding part-time staff hours?
No, it say, in order to meet the increased demand for library services, comma, shall the town raise and appropriate the sum.
I don't think you can change it
Can't
that
do
way.
that.
You can't, you gotta,
It has to start with shall the town raise and appropriate first.
Oh,
No,
Yes.
Neil's shaking his head no.
That's the traditional way to do it. It's not required.
I think it is.
we want
Talk
it
about
consistent.
transparency and consistency.
I think that would be best to go in after 8 months.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
say.
What you want to add would be, this represents the wages and benefits for 8 months, or somewhere in that sentence.
Brenda, can I see what you had written? Oh, what Neil had written?
we were just changing.
Yeah.
No, and I understand that. Yeah, I mean, I totally understand that.
How about just adding what,
Just
we're just
adding
adding it
at the
after the dollar
library.
amount.
You do that too.
Yeah.
Just adding after the dollar amount, it said
Library.
representing,
Right.
the
Just
cost
say
of
at the
training a
library.
part-time
So
library.
is this for the
employee.
38 hours? You're not adding a day at this point, you're just adding the hours? Thank you.
So it's adding hours.
Just just to clarify, Chris, yeah, we didn't feel it was appropriate to add a day and then have a new director come in and say, oh, by the way, now you get to try to figure out how to do Fridays here. So we eliminated that, and they're just going to turn one part-time person into full-time, and then there'll be extra hours for the director to decide how to use it among the staff that's currently there.
They need that. They do need that.
Okay.
Naomi, I think we have it figured out.
All right. Come on down.
Okay, shall the town raise and appropriate the some of the, and then put here, in order to meet part-time staffing hours, in order to meet the increased demand for library.
Okay.
I can
Yeah, no.
email it over to you
No.
now.
Do you want me to take this?
It's up to you, otherwise I
Yeah,
can just
I have
email
one.
it to you.
No, I think we're, so what they did is, they added at the end of, it says, shall the town raise and appropriate the sum of $12,249 representing the cost of turning one part-time position into full-time and adding part-time staffing hours in order to meet the increasing demand for library services.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds good.
We don't really need to say at the library again, do we?
Should say part-time library position.
Going to be library services where, at the transfer station?
Adding part-time staffing hours at the library in order. And after the word library, then you
Just
continue.
giving you a
here.
hard time, Neil.
Joke.
So which one are you going to take over?
He's only going out that far.
No, he's just gonna get water.
Getting some more water. So you're gonna update this book here when we get done passing?
Yeah. Of course we will. You have to sign it anyway, I'm going to take it out.
You know, I get home tonight.
Okay, anybody on Article 9? That's the way it's written.
As
For the
amended.
library.
As amended.
As amended. Okay, moving on, Article 10. Shall the town raise and appropriate $10,000 for the purchase of fire department, for fitness equipment for the fire department, and fund this appropriation by authorizing the withdrawal of the said sum from the Buxton Bequest Fire Rescue Trust Fund? No tax impact.
Again, a couple of years ago, I think, and again, correct me if I'm wrong.
I will.
I'm asking you.
Yes.
That the fire department was looking for, I believe, a piece of exercise equipment. And there was somebody, and I'm sure it was at the deliberative session, that said, well, I have one, I'll donate it. Are we talking about the same thing maybe? And did that happen? And is this to replace maybe what you have, or to add to it?
To add to.
To add to? Okay. Is there any chance of maybe putting feelers out to see if somebody else might have, a monstrous piece of equipment in their basement that they're willing to donate? And my only reason for asking that is that if that were to be the case, then it would free up this $10,000. And I don't know what specifications that, donation had in it. But, somebody could donate something that would satisfy their need, then would free up that money to buy something, that, might be more important to the department that, wouldn't get donated or something along that line. So, maybe to put feelers out between now and deliberative session, I guess.
So you have to be careful with donated equipment because It's a town building. It has to have a warranty. It has to be inspected. It has to have all kinds of stuff. We had a health and fitness coordinator where I came from. You can't really take donated equipment, just to let you know.
Unlike all the equipment thing, that's a nice round number. Do you not have something in mind for it already?
Yes, we do.
That costs $10,000?
It's getting it, trust me.
I don't believe that it costs $10,000.
Okay. But this isn't just a wish list kind of fulfillment thing. So, sorry, and you know what you want to buy?
Yes.
Okay.
Chief, that's like an up to though, right?
Up to.
Yeah, so this was, the fire department in the Ware Rescue Squad were named beneficiaries to the George and Joan Buxton estate. And so they graciously gave us a fair amount of money. And so what this warrant article does is, just like all the other trust funds, is it opens the door, if you will, or seeks permission to use those funds for this purpose. There's no cost to the taxpayer. This money was generously donated to the fire and ambulance department to use as we wish. It has been my my vision is to use that money for the health and wellness of our members. And to that point, we, I think it was 2 years ago, we did very similar language, if not identical language, and it authorized us to spend up to $10,000 for health and fitness equipment. That authorization expires at the end of the calendar year, so this is just kind of a reauthorization of that permission. And we still have to go through the trustees of the trust fund to verify that what we're intending to use it for meets the whatever strings are attached to that money.
Anybody else for Article 10? Article 11. Shall town raise and appropriate $106,200 for the purchasing of 2 fully serviceable police cruisers with $37,500 to be withdrawn from the unreserved fund balance and the balance of $68,700 to be raised from taxation. Article 11.
It's my understanding that we have, at least when you guys took out the 50,000 last year, that we have less than 5% of our budget in the unreserved fund balance. And the minimum recommended by the Department of Revenue Administration is 5%.
Mm-hmm.
Do you anticipate having such a huge surplus this year that you will exceed 5% by the $37,500 you want to take out of that fund?
We will.
I do.
Okay. Then, if that's the case, and assuming that that's a reasonable, that you will still have the 5%, don't you think you should tell folks that, in effect, that they can't have their cake and eat it, and that if you take it out of the unreserved fund balance, it's not available to lower taxes? So while the tax impact technically is the 8 cents that you're talking about, really the tax impact is the other $37,000, whatever that translates into, roughly 4 cents or so. And that this is really a 12-cent hit, not an 8-cent hit. Because you've decided not to give the excess over 5% back to the taxpayers in terms of a lower tax rate. You've decided to spend it on these cruisers. I think that transparency suggests that you make that clear, that this is not a freebie. The extra 4 cents is really coming out of our taxes.
I certainly don't agree with the warrant article, the way it's constructed, and how the vehicles are going to be distributed. Just, I think in 2018 was the last time we purchased a cruiser, and the warrant article stated dollar amount, fully equipped marked police cruiser. Now, last week, it was originally set up to be two fully equipped police cruisers. Then at that meeting, it was changed to two fully serviceable police cruisers. I don't get the word serviceable. What does that mean? You can change the oil filter? Or how is it serviceable in the context of a police cruiser? Kind of rhetorical question, I guess. Could you, is one cruiser, can I describe, you get two different vehicles in this same brand, different functions. You have one fully equipped police cruiser, is that correct? That could go on patrol.
Right, no.
You don't have one fully equipped cruiser?
Talking about currently or what these are?
I'm talking about Article 11.
Yes, both of them will be fully serviceable police cruisers.
Okay, that's not my question. My question is can one of those be described as a fully equipped marked police cruiser?
There's no such thing as a fully equipped marked police cruiser. That's why it was changed to fully serviceable. Once it's my turn, I'll explain the difference.
Okay, so I guess in 2018, we didn't know what we were talking about.
Correct, which I corrected.
It seemed pretty explainable, understandable when you say fully equipped police cruiser and marked to serviceable, I guess makes it more defined. So what do we have then? Maybe you could describe it to me rather than me ask the question. What are the two vehicles going to look like?
My turn?
I'll let him describe it. Exactly what he wants.
Fine.
Yeah.
Just one looking for an answer.
All right, so fully equipped, at how far down the spectrum do you go? As you can see, I wear a bunch of stuff on my body. The vehicle is the same thing. They have a ton of stuff in them from, if we have first aid kits where it requires 15 Band-Aids in the first aid kit, but we only have 14, is it now considered a fully equipped vehicle? No, fully serviceable means we can take it, we can go out on the street and answer calls for service. That's why we changed the language, because there might be something that's off from our spec sheet where we are ready to take it on the street. As far as the two vehicles, they're the exact same vehicles, both on the Chevy Tahoe police pursuit vehicle. One is not outfitted the same. I just received notice that New Hampshire's finally getting on board with the incident command system. Same system that the fire department uses. When you go to a critical incident, which would be our meeting that we had earlier this year, there's a format of how to handle that type of call for service. Better staging, better tracking of personnel, better accounting of resources, ensuring personnel are deployed appropriately and everything's tracked. New Hampshire in general, New England in general doesn't do that. They're still using 10 codes and stuff, but they're catching up, and they have shown the intent there. They're trying to catch up. The administrative vehicle is set up for a different set of tactics and the incident command system. The other vehicle is set up exclusively for officer patrol. Both can do the same thing. One's marked, one's not marked, and there are reasons for that too. I can go into those as well. Did I answer all your questions, or you want me to expand on something? Or some stuff I can't go into. For instance, the tactics. I can get as far as, without really revealing too much, it's necessary to not have the doors lock automatically inside. Without expanding on that, there's certain things we do where that's necessary in the vehicles. Just like the fire department, you see different types of trucks. They're for different purposes. We have the same thing. Both of these vehicles are necessary to ensure we're accomplishing our mission, which is to protect and serve and keep our people safe. Make sense? You want it back?
So we're going to get one marked and one unmarked cruiser, right? They both have some capabilities, one more than the other. One's more of a patrol vehicle. Is one of the two vehicles going to be exclusively used by the chief of police?
Yes.
And that's a vehicle you can take back and forth to work, is that right? Why aren't we going with two patrol vehicles? I understand your explanation, fine. We haven't had that before. Maybe we're just behind the curve.
Pretty much.
But it's been described that the Charger is causing issues with the personnel in terms of medical problems, stated by the chief. So in my mind, I would think that you'd want to get those two vehicles to the people that are using the vehicles on a daily basis, getting in and out of the vehicles. I understand that this vehicle here may not be of that type of use. I understood last year, it was very clear what the police department's command vehicle was, very clear what type of vehicle it was, how much it was going to cost, et cetera. This, we got two different vehicles in the same warrant article. It makes it a little more difficult to define, I guess, because it's basically a serviceable vehicle, but they're different. Could you give me the breakdown on the cost between the patrol vehicle and the command vehicle?
12,000.
It's about $6,000 different in the upfitting.
Okay, what's the cost of the patrol vehicle?
Total cost?
Just our,
Both the vehicle costs are the exact same, it's just the upfitting, how they're equipped.
So they're
It's
both the
different.
same chassis?
Yes.
Okay. So the upgrade to the vehicle to make it, put all the,
And I can say this, the unmarked vehicle can be upfitted fully to the patrol vehicle if we ever want to do that. That was intentional also.
yeah. Well, okay, I still feel that they should go to the officers that are out there on the street, using them on a daily basis, and that the police could use another vehicle, that chief could use another vehicle, doing the same thing that he described as a command vehicle, so. Again, the fire department, Bob's gone, I guess, was,
He's right there.
Here he is.
it was very clear how that was being used. This warrant article isn't very clear, in my mind. Excuse me, I should have said Bob. Chief is here.
I'm a little bit confused here again. I have two copies. These were passed out at your CIP meeting, along with this here. It was stated that one, just as now, one is not going to be upfitted, one was going to be not quite the same. So I don't know what we're getting here, and this article doesn't tell me what we're getting. Again, in definition of transparency, if you want two vehicles and they're both of different uses, different upfits, or whatever you want to call it, then there should be two articles describing that. I went back and I looked at the YouTube of January 6th meeting when this came up as a discussion. Somebody suggested, in fact, the chief thought it was going to be two articles, but he was corrected. It's going to be one article. The person says, dangerous to have two articles. It looks deceiving to have two. They, which I presume means the public, think we made a mistake or trying to do something fishy. Well, I think just the opposite. I think this makes something look fishy because you're getting two different vehicles. If you have one article, if you have one article for each car, you have a different price, different upfit costs and all that, and it will be a fully equipped police cruiser. Now, the second vehicle, you can say, police serviceable. That's a tricky phrase, police serviceable. All right. I guess I'm too old-fashioned to, that's all we've heard is fully equipped. Fully equipped. Let's see. It was also asked. So again, I don't know what we're getting for a car. We're getting a two-wheel drive Tahoe in the police chief's CIP, capital improvements. it lists 2 Tahoes, both four-wheel drive. Now, I don't know. Maybe it's clear to you folks who are asking for the money. I don't think it's going to be clear to the folks that are willing to give you the money. And if I can ask, I have heard the plan. The police chief's going to get the new car. I don't know why he needs a new car, quite honestly. You know, the last temporary police chief we had, part-timer, it was in his contract that he was going to get a car, but it wasn't going to be a new car. Here's my suggestion, all right, truly only a suggestion. This police chief said he's going to give his car with 126,000 miles or 168,000 miles. He's going to give it to the lieutenant, whose car is about ready for the scrap heap, I guess. All right, and that's understandable. It's an old car. So the police chief is going to give his car to the lieutenant with 168,000 miles. The lieutenant is going to travel much farther than this police chief is to home and back. He has stated about, somebody's shaking their head no, unless you're not understanding
Is the
me.
lieutenant going to travel back and forth to his house with a car?
He does now.
He's not authorized to.
He does now.
No, he does
Yes,
not.
he does
No,
not.
he does not.
He has a-
not.
No.
No, he
for
doesn't.
over a
He
year.
had his own car.
For over a
Well,
year.
it's been sitting there in
Over a
snowbank.
year.
Yeah, for over a year, he has not been taking that home.
Right.
Right.
Because of its condition. Because of its
No.
condition?
Nope.
No.
Okay, I've never
Nothing to do
understood
with
that. Okay, fine. Well, then even better, let the police chief keep his car, all right?
My car doesn't
And-
meet the needs of the mission of the department,
Well,
and that's not up for debate.
okay. Let him maybe struggle for it with another year. Get 2 cruisers. The police chief has said, his priority is to keep his guys on the road. All right? I think with 2 cruisers, he could probably do that a lot better. Or, if you want to go to the extreme, put in 2 cruisers and then another article with a new car for the police chief. Again, if they're 2 different, if they're 2 different uses, there should be 2 different articles explaining that and the money that goes with it. And I would also suggest, if there were 2 articles, if you'll allow me to jump ahead to the next 2 articles, I've been up here before, 2 fully equipped plow trucks. I know when I go into the booth, to kind of paraphrase what you say, I want to know exactly what I'm buying. I want to know, within reason, exactly what the cost is. I don't want anything hidden. And I think this is kind of hiding something. That's it.
Anybody else for Article 12, 11? Tom?
Just a reminder, the board, but I think you know anyways, but also throughout the process, the budgeting process last year, people said, wait till the new chief arrives to see what he wants. There was an article for a cruiser put on there, and it was pretty much shot down because of that. So we have a new chief, and he's telling us what he wants. And I think that we should do everything we can to support that. I understand that, what you're asking for here, basically asking for one car that's a marked car and one car that's not, and that's more or less the difference in price. And I think it's pretty consistent when the chief of police has an unmarked car, not just in this town, but in other towns and cities. The other thing is that there have been other changes with vehicles. The animal control vehicle went bottom up. So they're looking for a way to solve that problem by moving the Ford Explorer, which is now a patrol vehicle, over to the animal control to solve that problem without purchasing an animal control vehicle. So there's another issue that's part of this picture here. And from what I understand, the car, the last Crown Vic standing is not really standing because it was used for parts to keep the animal control vehicle on the road a little bit longer until it was hauled off. Also, our new chief, I believe when he was hired, the board talked to him about patrolling. And he agreed that he would do patrolling as part of his job. I can't see him patrolling in that old Ford Taurus, light blue Ford Taurus with 168,000 miles on it. I don't think it's an appropriate patrol vehicle. So I'm saying all of this because I think that, as with many things related to the police department, the town, and I know the board already has, but the town as a whole has to start standing behind the police department as we transition with a new chief and as we look ahead to the future, as the town grows, as a department is stabilized by filling all the positions and so forth. And this is just a piece of the puzzle.
I was going to give somebody else another chance to speak, so that's why I quit when I quit. Again, referring to that YouTube, all right? Rick, you actually, I thought it was Sherry, but you actually asked him, how long do you plan on running your vehicle? And it was kind of in the context of, does it need a cage in it at some point in time? Does it need, bells and whistles, lack of a better word, that, a cruiser would have? But it was in kind of that context. So the police chief responded, 5 or 6 year range, then roll down to admin. Well, it took me a second. What's admin? Administration. Use the word administration. Then get another one. Okay, so he's only going to keep this for 5 or 6 years. Brand new vehicle? Previous speaker said, well, support. We need to support. Geez, I just said we should get three cars. I don't know how much more support he wants, but it should be spelled out.
So that's incorrect. That's in the CIP on the vehicle rotation list. It just so happens that my vehicle is the current vehicle on the vehicle rotation list because it's the oldest, as well as 6, which needs to go down to the animal control officer because that's already rolled out. We're behind because we didn't buy a vehicle last year. Buying a vehicle to replace 6, so 6 can get rolled to the ACO is where we're behind. Mine was due for this year to the rotation, and then officers from there on. So every 6 years, it would be a new vehicle. Admin, if we ever get a detective, that would be an admin position. The lieutenant's position is an admin position, and the animal control officer is the admin position. So whereas we buy one new vehicle every 6 years, one of the vehicles in the best shape, wherever we're replacing, goes down to one of those secondary positions. That's how it works. Make sense? But that's in the capital improvement program, how it all rotates out. But it would be a 6-year instead of a 5-year rotation.
Anybody else for 11? Article 12. Shall the town raise and appropriate $220,000 to be added to the previously established Highway Truck and Equipment Capital Reserve Fund for the purpose of purchasing a fully equipped 10-wheel plow truck for the Highway Department? Anybody on Article 12? Okay, Article 13. Shall town raise and appropriate $86,500 to be added to the previously established Highway Truck and Equipment Replacement Fund, Capital Reserve Fund, for the purpose of purchasing a new, fully equipped, medium-duty 6-wheel dump truck for the Highway Department? And there's some language change on that for the fact of...
This is what you'll hear everybody refer to as the 1-ton. We just upgraded our 1-tons over the years. Now we got 4,500s. It's just another one with the GVW rating. So in transparency aspect, I just wanted to put the right terminology in case.
No, I think medium duty covers it better.
That's what it says on the old interweb for the 19,500 GVW, so that's why I changed.
Which is what those 45s are, right?
Those are 17.5, so it'll be a 5,500 or 550 range, and there's many out there, so it should be a good competitive bidding process. And
I got a question.
yes,
Gas, right?
huh?
Gas, right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. We're gonna stay away from all the emissions problems, and we're gonna go with
They don't
gasoline.
make gas motors in them ones.
V10s? What? I want it to be on the road, not in the shop. Anybody for Article 13?
Matt Whitlock, I have a question for Benji. I thought that you didn't want to get any more six-wheelers. Maybe I misunderstood.
So
You said you were overloading them?
Well, this is where we fought and fought for the right terminology. This is the 1 tons that you see us coal patching out of. They have dual wheels in the back, so they have 6 tires. They're not, you know what, that's why I really fought. I don't want to confuse people. I don't want to be considered a liar by telling you I'm getting a 1 ton. So they're technically not 12,000 GVW 19.5. So hope I don't shoot myself in the foot, but it's to replace our 1 ton. You know what I mean?
Which the 1 tons also have, there's one of them has service equipment on it, has a welder on it, and
Yeah.
generator and stuff like that. So it's not gonna be a front line with a wing and a sander in it type thing.
This is our little trucks, our 1
Yeah.
tons that we coal patch and do parking lots.
This is not going to be something you'll overload, because
No,
you said
right.
some
No.
of your smaller
Exactly.
dump trucks are just always overloaded.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. This will be, should be equipped to 1 ton full. I don't know.
What do the 4500s do for a snowplow route right now?
The one this is replacing does all the parking lots and a couple small roads.
Right.
Which is what that one will do. That one we got a brand new Boss V plow last year for it. That will be rotated to the new truck. I promised I would do that when I bought that. And we have, I don't know how old the sander is. It was there when I started, a stainless steel Fisher sander that we've upgraded from gasoline engine to hydraulic that I'm going to use also. It'll have a stainless steel or aluminum body, stainless. Sides unpinned so you can shovel patch out the side. Most of your DPW workers that get killed coal patching because they're at the back of the tailgate. Someone comes around the corner, it's a pinch point. So it'll add that aspect, and then the sides pin up. That's what this one will be. In a couple years from now, when I replace the other one, it'll probably have a sander body in it. But for this one, that's the intent.
Any questions on Article 13? Right.
Not so much as a question, but trying to draw a parallel between Article 12 and 13 and Article 11, and a consistency. If Article 11 for the police cruiser stays the same, not broken out into 2 different vehicles, then Article 12 and 13, why don't you combine pretty much all that wording into 1 article? You know, to be consistent. Say, okay, 1 article, we're going to $220,000 for a fully equipped 10-wheel plow truck. Add to that, you know, 86,000. So what's that, 300,000 or so, 306, something like that. For the purpose of a fully equipped medium-duty 6-wheel truck. Be consistent. I mean, to me, this is the way Article 12 and 13 is being truly transparent. And when I go into the voting booth, I know I'm going to vote for this. I may vote for that, I may not vote for that. I know exactly what I'm doing. And I know exactly what's being proposed to me. And I know exactly what the again, within reason, exactly what the cost is. I don't understand why, you know, just because you do things differently doesn't mean that they're done better.
James Drury, Oak Hill Road. Just on Articles 12 and 13, I think we should change the wording from fully equipped to fully serviceable, just to be consistent with everything there. Thank you.
Anybody else on Article 13?
Very briefly. What James said might be a good idea, particularly since in the smaller truck, you already have the plow and the sander.
Yeah.
So some of the equipment you already have, so you're fully serviceable. It might work to clear up this two different languages there. It's the board's decision, of course, but it is a little different because on your 10-wheeler, the plow you have to add along with everything else, and this one you already have the plow and so forth. Just confusing.
I certainly am not gonna stand here all night to argue about how that's worded. It's gonna have that equipment. We gotta put the plow frames on it for the plow to hook up. It's gonna be equipped. It's gonna be serviceable. I've always said equipped. I hate change, but do what you want.
He's honest. All right. Anything else on 13? Article 14. Town raise and appropriate $105,000 to be added to the previously established bridge reconstruction capital reserve fund for purpose of erecting, repairing, or replacing bridges. If I'm not mistaken, this is the last installment that we've predicted, correct? This is the fourth installment?
The last of the original plan, not to
Right.
say that it won't change.
Right, and this holds our 20% in the hand. If the state is giving us 80%, that puts us a lot further ahead than most communities. So, and we've got, how many bridges that are right on the, three bridges that are right on the cusp. River Road,
They are red listed.
red listed, which is River Road,
Lowell and Francistown.
Lowell and Old Francistown, so.
And when you get done repairing these bridges, are they gonna be fully serviceable?
Yep.
Okay.
Excellent. Not on the red list anymore. Anybody for Article 14? Article 15. Shall town raise and appropriate $500,000 to be added to the previously established road reconstruction capital reserve fund for road reconstruction and resurfacing of roads with up to $208,000 anticipated to be received from the State of New Hampshire Highway Block Grant, with the balance of $291,503 to be raised by taxation. This is a little bit higher than years past, what, 20,000?
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty cut and dry. So this is the one we always see.
It is, and we got that bond last year for road preservation. The intent of that was not to stop road work while we're paving, hopefully catch up a little. We need to eke up a little bit every year. I have no idea, because we haven't talked to any contractors yet, but that 20,000 I went up, I predict will be far less than what cost of pavement's gonna go up this year. It went up $5 last year per ton in AC escalation from the time I started paving till the time I stopped paving. So it doesn't take much, $5 a ton, when you're putting out 20,000 tons of pavement to
Right.
cost $20,000.
And again, the bond was for preservation. This is for complete reconstruction, base and everything.
Yes, but when that preservation is over, which will be this year and next year, depending on, most of it's gonna be spent this year, hopefully the bond money lets us go in here, but when that's over, we need to continue
Preservation.
too, so we need to get that number up so we don't,
Fall behind again.
stop, so. I think the vote spoke last year, the bond passed by more than any other article on the entire ballot, but I don't wanna stop my road work. The one thing I did hear from finance, I kinda wish we could have done this the other way, spoke finance first, cars didn't fall that way, was that I took 11,000 out of this. I didn't take it out, I put 11,000 in the operating budget for dirt road maintenance. Was asked, are you gonna take it out of this? Well, no. We need to continue to get this number up there. We have a dirt road maintenance line. That 11,000 was specifically for calcium chloride, which is specifically for dirt roads.
Right.
Go up a little bit each year, said all at once.
Anybody for Article 15? Article 16. Shall a town establish a radio communications capital reserve fund under the provision of RSA 35-1 for the purpose of improvements to the town's emergency services radio communication system, and to raise and appropriate the sum of $50,000 to be placed in the fund. Further, to name the Board of Selectmen as agents to expend from this fund. Article 16. Okay. That's a new fund. We gotta do something. Article 17. Shall the town raise and appropriate a sum of $80,500 to be added to the previously established Government Building and Maintenance Capital Reserve Fund for the purpose of replacing the air conditioning units and adding additional funding for unseen repairs needed of any town buildings, with $30,500 to be withdrawn from the unreserved fund balance, and the balance of $50,000 be raised by taxation. Anybody on this one? Okay. Article 18. Should the town raise and appropriate $34,000 to be added to the previously established Government Building and Maintenance Capital Reserve Fund for the purpose of fixing the rot in the returns, painting of the window sashes, the sign, corner trim, and reglazing of the windows at the town hall. It's about as straightforward as it can be. Okay. I hope so. Article 19, shall town raise and appropriate $10,000 for the cemetery improvements and fund this appropriation by authorizing the withdrawal of the said sum from the cemetery trust fund Cypre account. That's an old familiar. Okay, Article 20, shall town raise and appropriate $6,500 for fireworks for the 2020 patriotic celebration. Okay. 21. So the town raise and appropriate the sum of $25,000 to allow Conservation Commission to secure contracted services with a licensed forester for the forestry services, including plan updates, harvest layout, harvest management, forest inventory, invasive species control, land maintenance, related supplies, but not limited to signs, gravel, gates, and other related services, and fund the appropriation by authorizing withdrawal of the sum from the town forest account. There's a little more language in this just to explain what it is.
And what the forester will be doing.
Correct. 22, shall the town raise and appropriate appropriate the sum of $150,000 for the conservation expenditure towards the purchase of new town forest land, and fund the appropriation by authorizing the withdrawal of the sum from the town forest account. That's up a few thousand, isn't it? Usually 130 or 140.
No, I think it was the same as last year.
Okay.
Right.
Perfect. 23, shall the town adopt the proposed changes to the fire department special revenue fund? This is a petition article. Beginning in fiscal year 2020, contributions to the fund from revenue generated by the fire department billable services will be capped at $125,000. An annual increase of 2% from the previous year's maximum contributions will be established starting fiscal year 2021. Any revenue generated, less service and billing fees above the cap contribution to the fund shall be deposited in the general fund. This is a petition article.
What's,
He's the lead guy.
Yep.
Dennis Aubin, 228 Russell Drive. Remember that, Chief. So I'm the one that wrote that article, and the reason why I did it was I looked at essentially how much that fund was creating, and I looked at the burden that the fire department would be starting to put on the budget by adding more fire personnel, and I thought that it would be best served if we could take any money that was generated beyond what the fire department had listed in their CIP, in their 10-year plan, and bring that money back to the general fund to help offset some of the costs. So essentially that's where I came up with the
Can
numbers.
I ask a question?
You may.
It's 125, and it's usually about $10,000 for billing, so now we're at 135, or are we at 115?
Correct. So it's 125 plus
10,000?
Whatever
Yeah,
the
any
billing
revenue
is.
that's generated less, so essentially
Less.
the 120, no, so it's 125,000 plus whatever the service and billable fees are. Anything that's beyond that will go into back to the general fund.
Any revenue generated less service and billing above the cap, okay.
Okay, so your cap amount in your first year is 125,000 with an annual 2% increase from that previous year.
Okay.
So,
Can you tell me how much you're bringing in a year?
so I went back and I asked Beth, this year you're going to be up over 200,000 this year, or
It was 179.
well, okay, so 179. So, and this was considered a slow year, as stated in previous meetings or what have you.
And some of that 179 may be from last year's billing too, right?
Okay, but isn't that going to be, that'll be the same for the following
Yeah.
year
Yeah,
as
right,
well?
it's
It'll always be
over,
that way.
right.
You're going to have a rollover from anything
And
that
if you
happens
don't
in
make
December.
125, you get nothing.
If you don't make the,
I mean, there's nothing that goes into the general fund.
correct, yep. So the idea behind it was to make sure that we did fund all the requirements of the CIP requests so that we're not looking at a major taxation for a fire truck or ambulance or what have you. So by doing this, what's in the current fund now, less expenditures that were approved from last year, and if you add, and then, you add in all this, the 125,000, and the following year be 127.5, following, and so on. We still meet all the needs of those requirements, and any funds beyond that is not sitting in an account where it can't come back to help the taxpayers.
Okay.
Thank you.
I am not a professional accountant, but it says contributions to the fund from revenue. I presume that really means revenue over and above the cost of providing the service. Because, you know what I mean?
You know how that revenue is generated, correct?
I assume billing people whose houses are burning down.
No.
No.
Ambulance
No.
billing.
Okay.
So if you fall down and you call the ambulance, and the ambulance comes to your house, picks you up, provides you a service, and brings you to the hospital, you get a bill for that service.
Mhm.
You pay that bill, and that money goes into the special revenue fund, and we have a billing company, and that company charges us a certain percentage of whatever we billed you.
So my point is that if it cost the town $6,000 to run that ambulance that day, and the guy paid 10, $4,000 would be subject to this cap and not the 10, because it costs 6,000
No.
to do it.
No, because the hourly pay for that, for the personnel coming, that's paid for by the
budget.
operating budget, the town.
Okay.
The only money that goes in there is generated from the ambulance billing.
Okay, so it's all profit, essentially.
Except the billing
Except for the billing.
and supplies.
You have to pay to
Right,
have it
but
billed.
on the other
So
side
it's
of that is when we have a fire engine that comes up that costs $450,000, the money comes from that special revenue fund. It doesn't come from, it's already bought and paid for.
Right, I just wanted to be
By-
sure
by-
that the
by the- by
cost
the
to
s-
provide the service was still taken care of and wouldn't be withdrawn.
Right.
Okay.
Chief Azina.
So, in response, I guess in preparation of this warrant article, we reached out to, let me just back up first up. So, the spreadsheet that I'm sure everyone has gotten a hold of is down at the bottom is a footer, because we knew as soon as we put together a spreadsheet to look at capital improvement out years, because at one point we were the only department that were actually providing out years, was that is this statement is although this projection is based on reasonable assumptions, there's no assurance that it's going to prove to be accurate, right? And that the actual results and future events may differ materially from those that are anticipated. So we had numbers in there really just as placeholders for apparatus as it came up, so that we knew that in 2023, we had an engine that was on the schedule to be replaced. And so we had a number in there, I think the number we had in there was $450. We reached out to our two big vendors. One is the person that built the last fire engine that we bought in 2012.
12, huh?
We said, what would it cost to build that truck today so that we could get a more accurate number in there? And there's a lot of factors that go into building fire trucks. They're expensive, and I guess less known to me is how susceptible they are to tariffs and everything that's going on in the world. And so to build that truck today, our vendor said that was $522,000 today. And that his experience over the last couple years and what he's been telling people as they start to do things like this is that there's 5 to 7% increase per year going forward. We all scratch our heads. It's like, how can anyone really afford these things going forward? So if we extrapolate that out from today's dollars at 2020 to 2023, that puts us in the $600,000 plus range for what we had in the budget as $450. Because frankly, we didn't anticipate that we would have to come and defend what had been a savings account really for these such purchases. We also did that with the ambulance that we have placed out there at 2025. That ambulance in today's dollars was 307, call it 308,000. The escalator for the person that built the last one that we bought 4 years ago, is $750 a quarter, so $3,000 a year. So that puts us out at 2025 at $323,000. Under the fund as it's proposed, starting from July 1, 2020, out at 2025, we'll be out of money. It will be at zero. And one of the things that we did a couple years ago was we took the per diem expense, right? Because we were diverting revenue out of that fund to pay for the per diem daytime coverage. And what we saw after we purchased a fire truck in 12 was that the fund was never going to recover to buy anything else ever again for a long, long time. And so in sitting down with the CIP group and then with the finance committee was that money has so much more value in that savings account waiting for a large purchase than it does to piddle it away on everyday operating expenses. The finance committee at the time saw the value of that, and when we went to the voters to move the per diem expense into the operating budget so that we could have that money go back to the vehicle fund as it was originally intended, the voters saw that wisdom as well. And so, my reluctance to change anything with that fund isn't because, hey, that's a slush fund for us, because it doesn't work that way. The way that it works is that you're correct, is the money it does come from transporting people to the hospital, and then the subsequent billing process, we have expenses that are related to that, and then we end up with, we transfer it once a year? Once a year at the end of the year, which I believe we just did, or we're going to soon. The CIP process, in order to expend that, the voters are the agents to expend, not the Board of Fire Wards, not the Board of Selectmen, it's the voters. And so we have to go make a case and say, we would like to buy a new ambulance. It has to go through the CIP committee. They need to endorse that. It needs to come here, get on the warrant article. We need to go make a case at the finance committee to get their recommendation, because we all know how important that is. And then finally, we need to go to the voters and have the voters vote to authorize that expense. So it's not like we can just say, hey, you know what, we want a new truck, and we go out and buy a new truck. I mean, there's several steps to that. I think there's a lot of there's a lot of conditions and a lot of approvals that need to happen to validate that expense. So I'm definitely not in favor of changing how that money goes in and out of that account. I think for the arguable 3 to 4 cents per thousand savings per year, if you will, if we have another year like we had this year, I think the long-term damage or the unforeseen damage down the road is we don't have enough money when we need to in 2027, right? 2 years after that account goes to zero, we have another big purchase of, $400,000 in there. So I caution against that.
You guys also implemented a hardship policy too, right?
Yeah, so we have a hardship policy. It's based on poverty guidelines. We also get in touch with the receiving hospital to see if they're doing anything with that person. I think that we're very accommodating, whether it's a write-off or whether it's a payment plan. Insurance and people, there's a lot of people that don't have insurance. There's a lot of people that don't pay us.
There's a lot of people that probably get car insurance and don't pay you either.
You won't lose your hair, as you can see, dealing with that.
I always hate getting up behind Bob to speak because he speaks so much better than me, but I caution against this because, especially when the economy was bad a few years ago, the town didn't really get anything for equipment or anything, and things are getting better. So we got behind. Things are getting better now, but every department head goes to finance and you guys and CIP with the bare minimum that we need. I need 3 trucks, but I'm asking for 1. We're getting caught up slowly, but my fear is, we zero that account out, and myself and both chiefs and every other department's gonna have to go to the finance, go to you guys, and we're gonna have to decide what department gets something that year. When he finally needs a $500,000 truck, I'm gonna guess my next road grader is gonna be $500,000. Somebody's gonna have to go without, which just puts the town behind. We're not providing the service we're asked for. And I do not see the harm in having this account when the taxpayers are still the agents to spend it. There's really no danger. And I didn't even realize it till he just said it, but where it gains interest, that's even to the taxpayers' benefit. So we're gaining money on that. So it makes it hard. We put up a hard battle trying to get the equipment we need to provide a service. Having this so he can buy his own stuff at zero tax impact sure is a help with that.
Anybody else?
So in response to the chief, I guess from what he stated tonight was that what he gave the CIP was not accurate because he wasn't worried about the money. I'm sorry, but I think it's totally your responsibility to look at all of that and make sure that those numbers in the CIP are as accurate as can be. And it kind of shows the lack of worrying about the town and their funds by saying that you're not going to worry about it because the money's going to be there. So I disagree with that. Again, another reason for me to support this. Thank you.
Do we know how much money's in that fund right now?
Yep.
We just did the stuff tonight.
We just got it tonight.
$274,272. I do take great offense to the last comment, and while I understand where some of that comes from as far as the numbers that are in the spreadsheet, but again, the one thing that I take great offense out is that somehow I'm fiscally irresponsible. So we've come in under budget my whole time here. We've done some really great things. We've made accommodations and we've made purchases to put us in the best position at, what's our budget? $325,000 a year. So I take a little offense at that. Anything else on that one?
Anything else on 23? Okay. Move on to 24. Shall the town raise and appropriate $16,400 with the amount of $5,000 to be received from the Ware Athletic Club for the purpose of having a master planning/design exercise done on the property on Quaker Street and Route 114, tax map 405 parcel 9, which is an ice and field for the development of future recreational facilities. We dropped our warrant article that we had presented from the selectmen level in lieu of this one, for the fact of we didn't know that, you know, there was going to be an outside agency that wanted to try and offset the cost. So, and two of them would be confusing, so we dropped ours in lieu of this one. So, any comments on 24? Tom?
I'm not speaking for or against the article, but just, I think the board should look at, there are really two locations. You've got Quaker Street, and then it goes all the way down to Route 114. The area along Route 114, across from the police station, would be a very appropriate place, I would think, if we ever decided we needed another public building close to the center of town. Whether that was, I know that the idea has been kicked around for a separate building for police. I don't know if I'll ever live to see that, but, you know, there's been talk of expanding or moving the library, and that is close to the center. So I think that to preserve that area closest to Route 114 would be advisable just for long-range planning for the town. And again, not that I'm against athletic fields, not that I'm against expanding the upper part of Inison Field, but I think that that area right there should take a close look at the possibilities of it and what the future of the town might bring as far as the need for public buildings.
That's a great conversation for deliberative.
Pardon me?
That's a great conversation for deliberative.
Okay, well, I've saved some other things for deliberative, too.
I'm just thinking that maybe a deliberative, the other thing too is we actually add in the number that it would be 11,400 raised by taxation.
That you're welcome to make that amendment on the floor.
That's exactly that's what I'm saying. is
But
that
there may
they would
be
have to
more
come to the
money,
floor.
they're out chasing more,
And
they're
it-
out meeting with other athletic
And if that's the
groups.
case and that number changes, the number changes.
Yep.
But
Yep,
again, there's no representation how much it's gonna cost Joe taxpayer.
that's right.
So, to prepare for more money, which is always nice to get, can it say up to, the sum of up to 16,000?
It's my understanding from the lead petitioner that 16.4 was a number given to him from a contractor to
Okay,
provide the
but
service.
all right, so,
But already.
so the 16,400, then that's the total package.
Right.
For
Right.
the whole
Right.
For
thing.
just that one parcel.
And the
yes.
offset, the 5,000
Correct.
could change.
That's guaranteed.
No, that one is guaranteed. You could have another organization add
Right,
money.
so it could be 7,500.
So your language would come in with the 5,000, 5,000,
Well, it may, again, and we'll know better at deliberative.
yeah.
You
And
know,
now,
And that language could be crafted there, and we'll have the town
that one
attorney there.
and Article 23 there's no tax rate impact stated with the article. Is that how it works?
Well, I believe that 23 does not have a tax rate impact.
Well, no,
Does it?
not now. no.
But 24 would, I think it would have to.
It would
when
have something
When it
stated.
went to the second session, it would have to have some kind of a impact,
Thank you.
And
I would think.
Naomi, do we know if this 16.4 was 3 bids or just somebody they talked to, you don't know?
It's a petition article.
It's a petition article.
We
I
don't know.
talked to the lead
Don't know.
petitioner and got as much information as I could.
Right.
Yeah.
So. Any other serviceable ideas?
Jeez.
question, a procedural question.
I had to.
I think you're finished with the last article.
25.
Yeah, okay. I have a question regarding the interaction of two, I'm sorry, Matt Whitlock. I have a question regarding the interaction of two of these articles, 11 and 17, which both propose to take money from the unreserved fund balance. What would happen if the unreserved fund balance had only enough money left in it for one of those? Is it well defined which one would be, done and which one
Prioritized.
wouldn't? Yeah. Is it just the first article that automatically gets the priority?
Nope.
No, because
So,
there's
so
enough
how would
money
we
in
know?
there.
Would that be
enough
up to
money in
the?
there.
There's enough money in there to cover both.
I understand that there's enough. My question is, if there were not enough.
We wouldn't presented it.
I don't think we would have put it on there if
We
we
wouldn't have
didn't have
presented it with both options.
It's like writing you a check for something I don't have.
Right.
So
we
you're
know
saying
we have that.
If something came up and you needed to spend money from that unreserved fund balance, you can't do that without
And we would
putting it
alter
on.
the article at deliberative session.
To reflect changes that occurred.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I understand.
Okay. Okay. All right.
I think at some point in time, I will get my answer from the finance person, because I asked for it a while back. Had to wait for the year to be closed out. But maybe, not that I still don't want a printout. The two articles with money from the unreserved fund balance, combined to $68,000. What did you end the year with budget surplus? And,
She's working on it.
okay, okay.
It's in our booklet.
And,
It's in the budget of what was funded. I'll give you the map.
okay, well, that's okay, you have that? Jim?
I have it.
Okay, then, so I guess my comment is that, being that the unreserved fund balance is at quite a low percentage and/or dollar amount, which puts it in the realm of being unserviceable. I know you're making light of that word, but that's your folks' term, so I'll laugh right along with you. Unserviceable or serviceable. So you're confident enough that it's the priority is more to use $68,000 out of this unreserved fund balance to offset, as opposed to keeping that in there and building it up a little bit more?
I
Believe the
didn't ever
answer is
think
yes.
I would hear you say that. Building it up.
Well, you're below 5%. I'm not suggesting you go over 5%, because
No, I know.
that was the direction you were headed.
I know.
And I know,
That's what we were thinking.
and I,
Yeah.
and I know the percent, well, hey, I'm too late, I'm not gonna change my game now, that's for sure. I think you look back at the last couple of tax rate calculation sheets, it was getting up 6%, a little bit more. So, I am saying, build it up to the 5%.
Mhm.
So you're confident enough that you'll have, you got enough money to build that up, plus use $68,000?
Frank, if you look on the last page of our approved versus,
And I was going to ask if it was in here where I could find
if
it.
you find, it says 19 approved.
Page 22, right? Laura?
I cheated, I don't have page numbers. I
I
didn't
believe- I
throw
believe
away
it's
my
22.
papers, I used them, without the page numbers.
Yeah, it's 22.
So then, if then you take the expense number, Frank, that's what,
What page again did you?
I don't know, mine says 14 of 14.
22.
22.
I used my old one that we did. I didn't
Okay.
waste the paper. So we didn't spend $321,340.
Okay.
And that's unaudited, obviously. That's a simple math.
Yeah, yes. Okay, and then you take 60,000, you take the 68 off of that, right? you know, in a, I think, in a roundabout way.
Mhm.
Because that 300,000 would have gone into the unreserved fund balance.
Right.
Right.
Still did.
Pardon me?
Still did.
That still did?
Of course it did. We have,
Oh, okay,
you gotta put it in
okay.
and take it
Have to
out.
put it
Right,
in
and
to
you're gonna
take
take
it
out the 60, right,
Right.
right, okay. All right, then this is as of,
It's an unaudited number as of the end of the year,
the
yes.
closeout,
Yes.
when Beth closed
For the
out.
budget.
Yeah, okay. Okay, I'm good with that. That's it, thanks.
All right, I'm gonna close the public hearing. 9:17, what?
You do have it on the back page, the petition for Einstein Park, the actual tax impact.
Well, we, of what we know about.
What you know about.
Yeah.
Right.
Right, but this could be more common, so,
Right.
yeah, so it could change. But, all right,
Yeah, and you have
close
to, can I just?
Yep.
And you have to, that page that you just looked at, that's if everything passes,
Okay.
obviously.
Yeah,
Mhm.
So,
thank you.
Mm-hmm.
9:18. It's closed. Okay,
You did all your business before, so.
no, we got one more thing we were gonna address. I forget what
Oh,
it
yeah,
was.
your report.
My report, yeah. my
Your
lack of-
report for the town meeting.
Yep, my report.
For the town report, I'm sorry.
Correct, my report for the town report.
You guys? Yeah, we'll see you Wednesday. So we can revisit this again.
Already?
Yes, you sent it out to everybody. It was 2 pages.
Yeah, almost, yeah, it was just about 2 pages, I was kinda surprised. When I got typing.
Yeah, and I have a question. Am I supposed to add the people we've added? When you said more, da-da-da-da.
Well, the reason I put more is because I know that there is more, and I just can't, I couldn't remember, come up with their names.
I'll go talk to Maggie from.
Oh,
Okay,
hang on, I
I
guess.
I couldn't come up with their names,
Good night.
that's all, that's why I said more.
Did you want more stuff for the town?
I don't need it on.
For the town?
Doesn't, it feels like it's hot air anyway.
I'm just thinking names, just the names.
No, the names of the employees. It says new faces and he put down 2 and then said more.
Oh.
Yeah, because
So
I
is he
know we
looking for
hired
us to
more,
add more?
but I just had a brain cramp that night and couldn't remember who we added.
They like you.
Is that all done now, the town report, or do
Thank
you
you.
want some? I didn't put anything in.
No,
tonight.
she put out a, email that we needed by the 16th.
Serviceable, remember that word. Fully serviceable.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, can you bring it out in the hallway, please? Yep, not a problem.
So, yeah, everybody was supposed to have it by the 16th or 17th.
Oh, I guess I didn't see it.
And then if you had statistical information, you had till the 30th, I think.
Right. Right, so I wanted to put that up. I mean, like I said, the only reason I said more is because I know we hired a couple more, and I couldn't come up with their
Yeah.
names at the time. In my.
I can just look.
Yeah, exactly. Other than that.
Is that, and that is just DPW or just
Yes,
other
just
people?
DPW, just a DPW.
Because you've hired Kelly, you hired
Right,
Karen, you hired,
I ran out of spaces.
Yeah.
I mean, we can.
Yeah, you probably should.
Probably should
Yeah, we
list
probably should.
everybody.
You're gonna,
Okay,
if
that's
you're gonna
fine.
name one, you're
I
gonna
may
name
have
them
to take a
all.
little bit away because it's
No,
running.
you just squeeze your names together because you
Okay.
don't sign it.
Okay,
Right.
all right. Well, we gotta do it before the end of the week because I will no longer have use of a computer at the end of the week.
Why?
So,
Oh. Okay.
Different job.
jobs I'm not gonna have access to.
You won't have- They won't give you a computer over
Well,
there?
they might have something up there, but yeah. So, but at moment's leisure,
Right.
I won't have
Yeah,
it.
you won't
So,
have it.
So you want me to just add the new staff?
yeah, if you could, that'd be great. The new faces. So, did you have anything major on my report? You read it? Okay, good.
We were just talking about adding, I mean, there was a couple of new faces, but we also have hired it here. Like you've hired Karen, you've hired Kelly, you hired Kyle.
Yeah.
You know, so you have some other new faces, and I can look up,
PD.
yeah, we've added some to the PD.
Yeah, I was gonna, yeah, I think I added,
What about fire?
well, fires,
That's difficult to do.
it's difficult to do. The only thing I did highlight in fire was the 2 full-timers
Yep.
Oh, okay.
that we hired. Because that was kind of a milestone. So, like I said, if there's anything subtracted, additions, just kick it in an email to me and I'll craft it in there somehow, but again, you gotta start somewhere and there it is.
Read good to me.
I didn't know where you were gonna stick that, though.
Yeah. I kind of tried to break it up in the departments, as you
Yep.
can see.
Because you fast-forwarded to Chris.
Right. And then the PD
And
was
then
under
you
that.
also added Leland Hunter.
Right, because he was a new officer
And
that
then
came
Paul
on.
Lewis's event, yep.
Yep.
What about up in, up where you
the
brought
top?
back Jack? How about up there in that
Yeah,
staff
it's fine.
up there?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind that you leave Scott and Jason here.
No, it's fine.
Under DPW, and then staff, you can put, you know, you got Kelly, Karen, and Kyle.
The other thing too, I can drop it.
Look at that, you get all Ks.
Kelly, Karen, and Kyle.
Yeah.
You can put the 3 Ks down.
I can-
You
yeah.
could have the KKK that we hired.
Yeah.
All right, careful.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
No, better not
No.
do that. Better not do that one.
Just kidding.
I know.
I can come up with 3 more Ks if you want.
Yeah. If we could, yeah, I'll add that in the Jack paragraph.
Yeah.
Because that'd be this house rather than the
Yeah,
other
that's what I
ones.
was thinking. I was just trying to, like, I see how you did it. You broke it up. Yep.
Yeah, in the departments. Try to anyway. What an interesting event that was, trying to write that
Yeah,
all.
bring up something.
We already went by other business and correspondence. I'm sorry.
Hang on.
Oh, it's to do with what we just discussed.
Oh,
Yep.
Okay.
okay.
Those 2 cruises. I still think they ought to go in 2 different separate articles.
Well,
I agree with you. 100%.
Yeah.
They're 2 separate vehicles.
But we wouldn't have to if, you know, I said it last time, I'm not gonna say it again. If, you know, Tom said it, we're letting him tell us what he wants. And we wouldn't be here if we would, you know, we agreed to hold off and let him buy what he wanted when he got here, but no, we decided we were just gonna, you know,
Let him-
eloquently vote no on everything for the police department because we were in the middle of
I
hands.
understand that.
I know you do.
I agree. They're 2 separate vehicles.
Right. And his.
Both going for the police department, both going to be used out on patrol and whatnot, but they're set up different.
And we're under a totally different atmosphere than we were. We had a car umpteen miles away, and for a part-time person, we now have a full-time person, and he can come in on calls when he's needed.
Was it 6 miles from door to door?
He lives 6 miles from.
Yeah.
6 miles.
Door to door.
So those should be
Agree with
selling
town line.
points. Those are things, yeah.
And he's a working patrol
Yes, that's what
chief.
yes, right.
Right. Right. And I don't
I
like
mean,
the-
things change.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, I was always behind the separated already, but
Yeah, I don't have a problem with
but
it.
at the point there was a
I'm
there was a
still
vote to
afraid
sway.
that one article is going to get shot down.
Yeah, there was still a sway to go the other way.
Where
On-
if you
on
had-
this board.
If you had 2 separate articles, you might not get both, but I bet you get one of them.
Yeah.
This way here, I'm almost guaranteeing it's going to fail.
I mean,
I mean, it'd be a shame that they didn't get one. That's why I'd said early on there when we
I
had
mean,
the discussions that.
I even told the chief while he was standing there. I says, I think you have a better opportunity of getting one.
Yep.
I don't think you're gonna get both, regardless, whether it's together combined or whether they're
Oh, I
they're
don't
pulled
think so
apart.
either.
They'll get
But
it,
I think you have a better chance of getting one than lumping them together. You have a 0 chance, I feel. So again, I've always been 2 separate, but I don't again, and I don't think, you know, if you can write the articles in such a way that one will say fully equipped police cruiser.
Right.
And, you know, and one can say, you know,
Serviceable, whatever, if they want.
well,
Well, it shouldn't
but
say-
I don't
I don't
think
know
you
if
should
it's
change the language that way either. And I think it
don't
should
either,
be,
because I mean, the second one can still function as a police vehicle.
well, then the
patrol
second one
work.
should be fully equipped police command vehicle.
Unmarked car,
I wouldn't go that far. And the reason I say that is because you start detailing it out too much. That's what I'm thinking.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna be fully equipped to be a command vehicle, tactical vehicle.
Yeah.
You know? And put in here, in the warrant article, it should be, to me, it should be purchasing a fully equipped Chevrolet Tahoe, so it doesn't look like we're gonna buy a Bearcat on the second article.
Right, I agree.
you know. Because when you put in tactical, that's the first thing I think of is the state police Bearcat, you know. Not thinking that, yeah, there'll be some, you know, other things in there rather than what a patrol vehicle carries, you know.
And I understand it adds another article, but
Yeah.
I'd rather see them get one than none.
Yeah. You know, and again, I made the comment, and I got laughed about, and I'm feeling like a dog turd up here right now. Because I'm sick.
Oh.
But, you know, there's 16 voices out there that we heard. You know, we're five, six, you know, thoughts.
It was.
And you have 1,500 people at another vote.
Correct. So, you know, the more people that put together ideas, the better. And I'm still in agreement with Article 6 where, you know, what they said about, you know, pulling that money out. You're right. That's the way that it was always written is 3% for the town employees. There was nothing above and beyond in that article.
Right.
You know?
So why don't you separate the article and take it from the undesignated fund balance?
What?
What?
Right.
Take
No.
what?
Then your tax impact zero,
Take what?
the 9506.
Because it's gonna go back into the fund, it's gonna go back in the operating budget next year. That'd be a little under the table too.
No, if you're gonna make a separate article for his raise,
Yeah,
you could offset it with the unreserved fund balance.
yeah, but that becomes part of the operating budget in 2021.
Right, you write it right on there.
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like
You got
that.
enough money.
I'm not saying we don't, I just don't like the way that was.
I mean, I just, yeah.
I think that article for Benji would go through. I really do.
Yeah.
I do too. I
Yeah.
don't think it's not
So-
gonna pass.
So I think we write one for that. I think we, again, my own opinion, is we separate out the cars. And we change
Well,
it
it's your
to,
warrant.
and we change it to fully equipped police cruiser and fully equipped command/tactical vehicle.
Don't forget serviceable.
No, that word's
No.
leaving. That was a one-night deal, and that was tonight. So,
But there needs to be more explanation as to the need for the command vehicle.
and to me, that would be in the write-up.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I hate to say command/tactical/chief's vehicle, but
Right.
that would be the proper, you know, well, command/tactical
But I don't
vehicle to be
believe it's gonna
used by
be-
the police chief.
Exclusively his. I mean, when it's parked here in the dooryard and somebody.
Oh, yeah, somebody needs
it,
yeah, they'll run it.
It's gone.
Yeah, it's not, yeah.
Right.
But maybe that's the way we write it. So it'd be fully equipped police, fully equipped police command/tactical vehicle for the police chief. Because you wanna put it in there of who's gonna be driving it.
Right.
That makes sense? I
Makes
mean,
sense to me.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah, and then
Why
equip,
don't you say primarily for the police chief?
Yeah.
yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. It's just as long as he is in that article, written in there somewhere, and the intent of that vehicle.
And the explanation.
Full
and the need
explanation
for
in the
it.
mailer, but
Right.
when it comes up and they
Yes.
look at it, they go, all right, that's a cruiser, click, yay, nay. Oh, that's the command vehicle, yay, nay.
Yep.
Yep,
I just,
yep.
Yeah.
I'm in agreement.
And then you're gonna divide the other article?
6?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
yes.
And then you're gonna add more to 9. Change the words on 4.
Add more to 9.
Yeah, that's that.
Language.
Yeah, to
Yeah,
include the
language.
library,
Language.
That's
yes.
that whole transparency issue.
Language, no funding. Language. And then it was what, and 4 the language had to be changed too, right?
Just the
wording.
amount. I don't know how that got
Right.
so confused.
Yeah,
Oh, I read it over here thinking,
23.
Dennis Aubin,
Dennis who?
Aubin, Aubin. He's on the finance committee.
I thought you meant this was mistyped to that number, not,
Yes, that's
that's
right.
what I understood it as, so that's why I read the number.
Yeah.
As soon
and
as
there-
you did that, I did that one year on the warrant.
Yeah, well, I'm way over it. But,
Some people never get over it.
yeah, that's it. So,
Night, Benji.
Good night.
all right, any other business to be brought forward tonight? We go home?
adjourn.
Anybody gonna second it?
Second?
I'll second it.
All right.
Doesn't require a second.
Yeah, I know. All right. Have a good night.
Okay.
Thank you for watching.